beg your finest fucking pardon, but I know if my friend went missing, I wouldn't be out partying a few hours later. Hell, if it was just somebody that I remotely cared about and didn't wish harm upon, I'd be trying to find them. And I sure as hell know that I wouldn't leave an actual island without them. And I know that I wouldn't be like deleting all my social media and having like my parents even delete their social media. I know I would be openly working with anybody and everybody and speaking out very publicly to find information to find out why they are unalive. But no, that's not what happened to Nolan Xavier Wells, because those individuals were not his friends. They were not even his acquaintances. They clearly did not care about him at all or his well-being. Because if they did, this is not the storyline that we would be hearing. This is not the timeline of actions that we would be seeing. The fact that one of those kids lawyered up as soon as news broke about Nolan Xavier Wells' disappearance, we all knew how this was going to end up after that moment. This happens so much in our society that I fear that people just expect it now because they do, because it's all too fucking common. But we all know, had that picture had been 3 black teenage boys with 1 white teenage boy, this would be all over mainstream media and the president would be fucking talking.
What's good, y'all? Elite live streams. We back with another one. How you guys doing out there? Welcome to another live stream. I hope you guys been doing well, man. I've been great. Definitely took a nice hiatus, a great break to be able to reset, tap in again with, what I had going on, making sure that I'm on top of my game. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, there's been a lot going on, and as you guys know, we've been covering the Carmelo Anthony case very closely. We also were covering the Cyrus Carmack Belton case very carefully. And, we covered the Mr. Choice legal trial. We also covered the Carmelo Anthony legal trial. So obviously that was a lot. You feel me? Emotionally, that was one of the hardest cases to cover. There was still a lot of details that we're finding out even till today. And from me covering that story from all the way of last year, I really made sure that once, we kind of got a verdict, I gave my opinions, and I wanted to wait until we saw what was going to happen with the appeals process. And now we're here. Obviously, it was a lot that went into that, and I needed to make sure that I took sufficient time away from, this space, this YouTube space, to make sure that I'm taking care of myself and locked in on what's important. Obviously we had Juneteenth, we had the 4th of July, there was a lot of holidays, and it was a lot of family time. You know what I'm saying? I got a lot of family that was in town. And so I needed to recharge with my people. You feel me? I linked up with the homegirls, you know what I mean? I was surfing, I got a few videos and blogs that I might drop. So we'll be tapped in. I'll let you guys know, you know what I'm saying? But it was just a great time to be able to reconnect with my people and what's most important. And obviously, you know, I love YouTube. Like I always tell you guys, this is fun for me. I enjoy it. But at the same time, I'm also prioritizing my real life as well because I'm really out here. Y'all know that I'm a real person. So I got to make sure that I'm always tapped in with the real world. Y'all feel me? So let's continue, right? So today, what are we talking about? Okay. So everybody's talking about the brother Nolan Wells. As you guys know, Nolan Wells went missing off of the coast of Mississippi at a place called Horn Island, right? So this is, I guess, a scene or a spot for a lot of youth in that Mississippi area that are all connected to this specific holiday, 4th of July, and they were all going up for a trip. He went with a few of his friends. Nolan was missing. He did not come back with his friend group. Okay. There were a lot of speculation. Obviously, his parents were extremely worried. They went out and made their own, bulletins and announcements to say, hey, our son is missing. We don't know where he is. We are not getting details from his friends or his friends' parents. So let us go ahead and reach out directly to the public. They go out, they reach out to the public. We start to see more of a grassroots following, right? A lot of the grassroots have been following this story, and they are the ones who brought it to the mainstream. Let's keep it a buck, right? A very sad story, a very unfortunate story, for a brother who, right now, there's a lot going on. You know what I'm saying? We're starting to see more and more of these stories where, we are seeing these young, athletic, well-to-do young Black brothers who are getting caught up in a lot of these situations. And it's starting to get eerie, man. It's getting real weird. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, when you had Nolan, who was a star athlete, he was a football player and also a basketball player. He was extremely athletic and proficient. He was training for, some upcoming season where he was, projected to do some really big things, you know what I mean? And it's very unfortunate because it seems like, what's been happening lately, we're going to talk about it in this stream. You know what I'm saying? Because it's been a lot of, like I said, it's been a lot, man. It's been a lot going on. Obviously, we covered the Carmelo Anthony case from beginning to end here. And now we are covering the mystery of Nolan Wells. His body has now been sent to DC for an independent autopsy, which will be spearheaded by Benjamin Crump, who is also going to be representing his family. All right. So as we're now starting to see more of the details start to come out, I wanted to as well make sure that we speak on the history of Mississippi, right? Because there is a lot of people who are not comfortable with what's happening right now, and they have their eyes really on Mississippi in general, because Mississippi has a rich history of suppression, racism, corruption, okay? They have a very rich history of it, all right? You guys already know the very dark history of racism and segregation that started in Mississippi, and we're going to talk about it today, all right? Because I think it's important to make sure that we bring the history forward as well. What's good, man? Tori, how you doing, man? Yeah, been a minute. Yeah, I kind of talked about it in the beginning, but, after the Carmelo case and after the Cyrus Carmack Belton case, there was a lot going on. I needed some time to recharge, reconnect with the fam. Obviously, there's been a lot of holidays. It's the summertime. So I took that time to lock in with the family while, a lot of other things were going on, but we back on these YouTube streets to continue to talk about the real. I appreciate you, Tori, and Forrest pulling up, man. So now that we talked about kind of the setup, right? What was the setup, man? What was the setup? We're talking about Mississippi, okay? So let's talk about it. Mississippi has the highest number of documented racial terror lynchings in the United States. Between 1865 and 1950, this is only documented, all right? So let's keep this as accurate as we can be, because these are only the documented lynchings of Mississippi. They said that there were over 650 lynchings of Black Americans that were recorded in the state of Mississippi. The systemic mob violence was used to enforce white supremacy and suppress civil rights. All right. So when we're talking about Mississippi, we have to make sure that we're talking about the history of Mississippi, because it's very important. And I see, obviously people are trying to say that this case isn't about race. Okay, let's say that it isn't, right? Does not the setting and the stage of where a crime is located play a part in the atmosphere of what can happen in a situation where someone gets unalived, right? We always talk about this when it comes to when we're talking about true crime, right? And true crime stories, right? And the forensic evidence and all this good stuff. Salute, Ezra. Appreciate you pulling up. When we're talking about, okay, true crime, right? And when we're trying to talk about what happens in a true crime story, the setting always has to matter. And the setting is in Mississippi, which is significant because Mississippi has a rich history of racism and the lynching of Black Americans, right? This was a Black American son who passed away with his, hold on, let me bring these guys up. Let me bring these guys up before we make sure that we get it right. With his buddies, right? These were his buddies, okay? He was last seen with these guys, all right, in Mississippi, all right? It's significant. Whether they want to say it's not about race, this is not significant, it is totally significant, because if he is the only Black person at this island, right? And it is documented that you guys left this man, took his cell phone and his keys, hid them, didn't even speak out and reach out to the parents when you knew that your brother, okay, your brother, all right, your brother Nolan is lost. You guys can't find him, but then you guys are going, nah, bro, something ain't right, right? So now we're starting to get into the white protection part of this, right? Where they're saying, hey guys, make sure that you blur their faces. They're minors and they have alcohol in their hands and they were underage drinking. Well, guess what? We saw for almost 2 years straight them putting those pictures of Carmelo Anthony up there with his mugshot. We had to watch for 2 years Carmelo being put out there like he was a grown adult when he was actually a minor. So now we're supposed to move with kid gloves and be so kind, right? Because now it's them once again. Yes, sir. They on code like a new, man, stop it, bro. I'm just saying, bro. I'm just saying, man, like y'all help me understand, because when we're talking about this, right, when they're trying to make it seem like, oh, guys, yeah, we got to make sure that we're being careful because these are minors and we don't really know the details yet. Okay, bet. Like I said, let's go with that story. If that's true, then why didn't they reach out to the parents and let them know that Nolan was missing? That we don't know where Nolan is, but we have his phone and we have his keys. These are, you consider friends? Bet. All right, cool. And that's why I played that video at the very beginning. We're going to bring her up because y'all don't listen to when Black Americans tell y'all what's going on. Y'all listen to the white tea people. So I'm going to let a white tea woman explain how ridiculous this sounds. All right?
No, if my friend went missing, I wouldn't be out partying a few hours later. Hell, if it was just somebody that I remotely cared about and didn't wish harm upon, I'd be trying to find them. And I sure as hell know that I wouldn't leave an actual island without them. And I know that I wouldn't be like deleting all my social media and having like my parents even delete their social media. I know I would be openly working with anybody and everybody and speaking out very publicly to find information, to find out why they are unalive. But no, that's not what happened to Nolan Xavier Wells, because those individuals were not his friends. They were not even his acquaintances. They clearly did not care about him at all or his well-being. Because if they did, this is not the storyline that we would be hearing. This is not the timeline of actions that we would be seeing. The fact that one of those kids lawyered up as soon as news broke about Nolan Xavier Wells' disappearance, we all knew how this was going to end up after that moment. This happens so much in our society that I fear that people just expect it now because they do, because it's all too fucking common. But we all know, had that picture had been 3 black teenage boys with 1 white teenage boy, this would be all over mainstream media and the president would be fucking talking.
Okay, we know that. We already know that the double standard would have been so loud that it would have been unbearable. Because like I just mentioned, we watched what they did to Carmelo. We watched them be a complete corruption and a collusion against that young brother who was a minor. All right. So we already know what they gonna do when it comes to their folks and their persuasion, right? And like she mentioned, these were not his friends. Okay, these were people that he thought was his friends who were a part of a system that is set for them to be protected. Why would you lawyer up all of a sudden and this is supposed to be your boy, right? This is supposed to be your homie and you lawyered up. That's interesting. That's an interesting spot to take. That's an interesting position to take when you're supposed to actually be helping the authorities. If this is who you say it is, your friend. Right? You would want to help them. You would want to give them all the information possible so that they could find your friend. Meanwhile, he's washing up into a lake. And now, obviously, we're at where we're at now, where we have to now get an independent autopsy because we don't know what happened to this young man. So once the autopsy comes back, then we'll have a much better picture, right? But we also still have to make sure that we understand the system is always at play, right? The system is always at play. So we never really know if all the information that we're getting is ever accurate, specifically because a lot of what they can do is beyond some people's comprehension, right? The corruption level can go all the way to the top, especially on a story like this, where now it is getting mainstream attention. Now it is on the forefront. Now it's on Good Morning America, okay? It has become a nationwide conversation, right? Because like I just showed you guys, it ain't just us talking about it. Now it's the YT folks. They're talking about it. The mainstream, they're talking about it, right? Because a lot of the details are just not adding up. And as logical as you want to try to be, if you want to think as logically as you can, right? We're going to think like y'all and try our best to take race out of it. That still cannot be negated because of the history of where this happened in Mississippi. Okay. One of, like I mentioned, the top, okay, the #1 state in the entire country for atrocities against Black Americans, the #1 state. All right. Civil rights organizations and families define modern day lynchings in Mississippi as racially motivated and extrajudicial killings. Okay. These incidents often involve Black Americans whose deaths in suspicious circumstances, such as being found from trees, okay, and severely physical trauma, are initially ruled as unaliving themselves by local authorities. Okay, this is all a part of a system. Like I just mentioned, you guys, like we cannot just glaze over the fact of the setting, right? If we're gonna play the detective role, if we're gonna put on our detective hats and be as unbiased as we can about a true crime that's happening in real time, if we're going to put on our hats, the setting matters. Where did this happen? Okay, this happened in Mississippi, on Horn Island, a remote island that can only be traveled to by boat or by helicopter and is mostly patronized by YT folks. Okay. So we're supposed to now be logical and think that, oh, it was just an accident, guys. Nothing to see here. No foul play. That's what we're supposed to believe, guys. Y'all gotta let me know in the chat. How does that sound if you're actually thinking as a detective, a true crime detective? If you're being as logical as you can be, does not the setting matter of where the crime was committed? Does not the climate of the place where the crime is committed matter to what happened in the crime? Mind you, like we already mentioned, okay, this was a young brother among his friends, right? His friends who were of a different persuasion, right? So if something happens, like they're saying, he separated himself from the group, okay, then if we're still using our detective mindset, how much does it play in the fact that he is in Mississippi? And now that there are videos going around of certain persuasion of people talking about this is what they do to Black Americans when they get them alone and in certain spaces. Those videos are circulating right now. I want y'all to know that. And so now that this is all starting to kind of bubble up, right? It's now making sure that we making, our voices heard, because there's a lot of people sharing their stories about when they were the only Black person in a setting of all YT folks. Salute to Ezra. He says, I know you was going to bring a good breakdown. Yeah, that's what we going to do, because y'all know over here, we're always using a logical mind first, and then at the same time, the historical data that backs up our analogies, right? Because y'all know that's what I do. I'm always going to bring the historical data to back it up, all right? So let's continue about the historical data of Mississippi as a place, right? You know what I'm saying? Because like I told y'all, we have already talked about the history of the lynchings, right? And then we talking about the modern day lynchings, right? So let's talk about a Crimson record, all right? This is the report that they did recently about what is going on in Mississippi and the modern day lynchings, all right? So released by civil rights organization Julian, this study documented over 70 suspected modern day lynchings across 7 southern states, with Mississippi recording the highest number, 20, which was reported cases from 2020, from 2000 to 2025, okay? As recently as last year, y'all. All right? This is what we're talking about here. When, like I mentioned, when we're looking at this from a logical perspective and we're thinking like a detective would on the case, I'm a detective, I'm a forensic investigator. Where did this happen? All right, this happened in Mississippi, which has a specific record, okay, a record of lynching and terrorizing Black Americans. Okay, we have a kid who is among these people, right? Who is among these, okay, that ilk. He's among them, and he's the only one. He's lost without his phone and his keys to get back. And the only way that he can get home is on a boat and on a plane, okay? A dang helicopter. So let me get this straight. All those things considered, you're telling me that he was so it doesn't, do y'all understand where I'm going with this? It just doesn't add up. We can be as logical, thought orientated as possible. It just doesn't add up. Okay, so let's continue about the Julian report on the Crimson records. All right, The report categorizes these as multiple perpetrators, bias motivated HOMI asides, okay, meant to terrorize communities or enforce perceived racial hierarchies. All right. This is what we are dealing with. Okay. Now, the fact of the matter is, a lot of people aren't going to speak on the history part because they want to distance themselves away from it as much as they can and say this was just an isolated event. This was an accident that happened with some kids, and we're just going to leave it there. Right? That's what they're trying to say it is. But we're going to smash the gas on that whole theory based on what did I just say? We're going to look at the historical relevance of the place that we are in, Mississippi. And I told y'all know my history. My family's history starts in Mississippi. Albany, Mississippi, my family, okay? All the way back to the 1600s. You can trace it right to Albany, Mississippi. All right, Albany, Mississippi, a significant place in my own family lineage. All right, Mississippi has a bunch of history for a lot of foundational Black Americans. All right, straight up, Ezra, a risky track record at best. Okay, at worst, one of the worst places in the entire United States for the historical relevance of what they've done to Black Americans, specifically foundational Black Americans, okay? We already know what's going on. So that's why it was important for me to make sure that we bring that to the forefront as we're thinking about this story. We have to make sure that we think about the setting and where this happened, right? The historical relevance of a place like Mississippi, all right? So let's talk about the mysterious finding of Trey Reed. Okay, do you guys remember this story? I'm gonna bring it to your forefront again because that's what we do at Elite Media. We bring the receipts, y'all. We're gonna make sure that we bring all this together. All this is gonna come together because that's what I do. I'm cooking right now. All right, so let's go. In September 2025, 21-year-old Black college student Travion Reed was found from a tree on a campus of Delta State University in Cleveland, Mississippi. Do you guys remember this story? I remember I talked about this on my channel. I remember talking about it when we were also referencing the fact that in the Project 2025, they were talking about the nationalistic mindset of a specific ideology from the KKK members and the far right, right? We were talking about that. And we're talking about the fact that there would be more of these mysterious, right? Mysterious SUI-asides, okay? SUI-asides. There would be mysterious SUI-asides that we would start to see more of nationwide. But specifically, obviously, this happened in Mississippi, which, like I mentioned, bears significance based on the fact that Nolan, this is happening in Mississippi, okay? We're going to bring it all home because this continues to happen, right? While local coroner's office ruled it an SUI-aside, his family and civil rights leaders and politicians expressed deep skepticism and mobilized for transparency, y'all, okay? So look, the history is there, right? The history is there. The data backs up what we're trying to talk about when it comes to why we have questions about what happened to the brother Nolan Wells, why his family feels some type of way that they had to actually track the son's phone to be able to get access to it. And then when they do get access to it, it is completely wiped of all of the text messages, all of the videos, all of his Snapchat, okay? This is unusual, like they mentioned, for a young Gen Z, Gen Alpha to not have all of these things on their phone. Y'all tell me a young Black youth who doesn't have a phone in their hand all the time, okay? I got nephews who are exactly around the same age as brother Nolan Wells. And they always got their phone. All right. They don't leave nowhere without it. So obviously with the inconsistencies, right? Those inconsistencies have raised questions nationwide. Everybody's asking, well, what happened? How did it go from y'all being on the boat to now you're back home and you didn't even let his parents know what was going on? And then at the same time, when they track him down, you guys lawyered up. Y'all ain't talking to nobody. You're not cooperating with the authorities, right? Isn't that what they tell us all the time? Just comply, to work with the authorities, to make sure that you're pro-police. But then when something happens that don't make them look good, now they want to lawyer up and not talk. There's a lot of questions that are being raised here, y'all. There's a lot of questions. Salute Ezra. He says they cannot create a convincing cover story. Facts. And that's what they're probably working on right now, right? What they're probably working on right now is getting their story together and making sure that they cooperating like they did with brother Carmelo Anthony and how they railroaded him with that sorry story that they put together up there on the stand, man. I'm still mad about that. All right. So now let's talk about another case where this has happened in Mississippi. Let's talk about the mysterious case of brother Rasheem Carter. All right. In October 2022, 25-year-old Rasheem Carter disappeared in Taylorsville, Mississippi after expressing fear for his life and reported that he was being followed by a YT man using racial slurs. His remains were discovered weeks later, scattered in a wooded area. A trail camera photo surfaced later that appeared to show him running and looking back like he was being chased. His family consistently advocated to the federal involvement, suspecting a hate crime. Y'all, I mean this because I do this, right? We make sure that we bring receipts, right? This is what we do. But sometimes when I'm digging into these stories and I'm starting to get all this information, just like y'all, it's shocking, but then at the same time, it really upsets me to a internal level, because a lot of these stories, we talking about Nolan Wells, but how many more Nolan Wells were they that we never are going to know about, that we're never going to be able to talk about, because they're still missing. They have not been found, right? There is no trail for some of these cases that were back in the days, early, like I mentioned, since 1865 was the record. Like I told y'all, I got records of my family all the way to 1600. So y'all help me understand, if I can have a family tree that can be traced back all the way to 1600, y'all gonna tell me that in between that time, that 200-year period, they wasn't doing what they still doing today? The numbers that we are looking at are just minute in comparison to the actual scale of what they did to foundational Black Americans. We can just give our perspective, right? And we can give an estimate. But in reality, we know what they did, man. We know what they did, and it's dirty. It's a dirty game. It's disgusting, right? Because like I mentioned, these are only documented. I told y'all about just the documented history of what they did. And they talking about somewhere around 700. Please. Try thousands over generations, over hundreds of years, right? This is what we talking about, man. So rest in peace to the brother Rasheem Carter. Rest in peace to the brother Trey Reed. You feel me? These are what was going on, and it still was going on right now. And now we talking about Nolan Wells, and they can't even give us a direct answer about what happened to Nolan Wells. We gotta smash the gas and be online detectives and hold these people accountable to do their job, right? Because what I was trying to find, I was trying to find some information about this Horn Island place. Like, How many people have gone missing at Horn Island? How many people have gone and not came back from this place, right? And, funny enough, there ain't much information. I thought that was very interesting, right? If this is an island that they say people travel to all the time, every summer, how is there no information about this place? How is there no documentation of what has happened in the past at this Horn Island place, right? Y'all think about that. How can a place exist but there's no real history or records of what has happened at this place in the past, right? Because I try to look it up. I try to see like if there was some history of Horn Island and if Horn Island had some history of people going missing or drowning out there, certain things that would make sense to what they're trying to say this is, right? Maybe Horn Island has a bad reputation, right? For instance, right? I'm out here in California, you know what I'm saying? And in Bakersfield, there's a place called Kern River, right? Kern River is a river that runs down in Bakersfield, and you can go there and you can do like inner tubing and all that good stuff. You can go fishing, you can camp out there. It's like, chill spot. But they call it Killer Kern because so many people have died at Kern River in Bakersfield, right? It has a reputation for this, right? Where's the reputation for Horn Island if they're saying that this was just an accident and Nolan just so happened to pass away? Okay, what has happened at Horn Island? Please help us understand, because if there's no history, like I said, I looked it up. I searched it out. I try to find some history of what happens at Horn Island. There is no history that documents anything that says what has happened there or who has passed away at Horn Island, whatever. Okay. All I could get was this. All right. So I'm going to read this for y'all. An exact historical tally of the unalivings at Mississippi's Horn Island does not exist. The remote, uninhibited barrier island is part of the Gulf Islands National Seashore and sees numerous boating and swimming facilities over the years due to its remote location and powerful currents. Okay. So if that's true, right? If what we're talking about is a remote place and there's no documentation of anything that's been happening there, that raises some questions for me. That makes me think like, okay, so if there's no historical record of this place having a history of people going missing and other things, then what's going on? Where is this place? How did this happen? You know what I'm saying? What happened? Because it just don't make sense, right? So look, there's some other stuff that goes on with this, right? While a definitive court or count is not tracked, local authorities and coroners frequently handle tragic incidents on the islands. Notable and recent fatalities include, right, August 2025, 29-year-old Jordan King drowned after jumping off an anchored boat into shallow water off of the island. Okay, so look, there was no documentation of anyone saying that Nolan jumped off of the boat or that he was swimming anywhere. We haven't heard any of those stories. We haven't heard anything of him getting into an altercation, because what they're now saying is the altercation was not him. So if he was not a part of that altercation and he gets left, his friends take his phone and his keys, something's not adding up, man. Something is not adding up, right? But I did come across this very interesting piece of information. I don't know, whatever, but let's see. Okay. During World War II, the island was used as a chemical warfare testing site by U.S. Army. The island's small landing strip was the site of at least one fatal aviation crash, which 2 members were unalive. Now, this is government owned. It's a government owned island. Okay. I don't know what significance that holds, y'all. I don't. But I thought it was an interesting piece to figuring out what Horn Island is or was, like what the history of it was. And I find that to be a very interesting piece of information to just add into the blog sphere of what, you know, what happened to our brother Nolan Wells, right? Is the fact that this island is a government entity. The US Army used this as, in the past, a chemical warfare testing site. Okay. Now, I don't know as far as like what the regulation is over there, what the, you know, Cajun Navy does to keep an eye on what goes on at Horn Island, or what they have, you know, to say about Horn Island. But I think it is important to note that this place does have a U.S. Army history, and that it was at one point occupied by the U.S. government. Now, y'all take that with what you will. But all I know is, if that is a piece of this part, there has to be an understanding that this is a place that is inhibited by some level of oversight. Now, I don't know how much, right? We all don't know how much, but I think it's important to think about the fact that these boys went out there with their friends on 4th of July, okay? Nolan going out there thinking he's among friends, thinking he's going to have his last hurrah before he starts training camp next week, or this week pretty much. And then for him to go missing and not be heard back from. And then at the same time, now we're here, you know. Sad business, y'all. This is terrible business, and I'm very sad about this. And I, you know, it's not a lot of y'all in here. I've been kind of, you know, like I told y'all, you know, living life, doing what I got to do after the, you know, the Carmelo verdict and stuff. You know, I was feeling some type of way and made sure that I took care of that. So I'm gonna drop the link if any of y'all want to come in and give me your opinion on what you think is going on in this Nolan Wells case. All right, I just put it in the chat. You know what I'm saying? Y'all can do what you do, but the link is there. Now, I think it is important to try our best to be respectful, right? Because I also see a lot of people giving, you know, the family a lot of grief right now. They are being, you know, a lot of people are just, you know, giving their opinions, you know, what Nolan should have did, and who he should have been hanging around, and what, you know, all this other stuff, you know, that's not very important in the grand scheme of it, because these parents lost their child. You know, they didn't want to lose their child thinking that he was out there having fun with his friends and he wasn't going to come back that day. You know what I mean? It's very sad. But at the same time, you know, it is an important conversation for us to have when it comes to, as a person who has a family or who is working towards having a family, where do you set your family, right? Especially if you are a person who is a well-to-do, productive, you know, human being in society, meaning most Black Americans, we are career orientated. We come from a very conservative background. A lot of us have very, you know, real connections to our families. And so living in a place that is conducive to the safety of our family is very important. And that's why, you know, a lot of people do choose to move away from the predominantly Black community to predominantly white communities, right? You see that a lot, where, you know, a lot of people who, you know, go to school, they get great jobs, they're doing great now, they want to start their family, and they'll move to a place in Mississippi thinking it's going to be safe, right? A good spot for their son to be able to go to, a good school, and have the opportunities that are afforded to him. But in reality, a lot of times that can be detrimental based on other people's objectives and biases, right? And so as a community, now the conversation comes back again, right? Where we were talking about segregation and separating ourselves to make sure that we are focused on our own communities, and we are putting back in so much of what we've lost, right? And so now the conversation is shifting into, should there be a time in any Black child's life where they are the only Black person in a group of friends who are white. And I don't know what to say to people, right? But what I can say is that history tells us that that is a very, very dangerous game. And if things go left, most times the Black American child is the one left hanging. So with that information, you decide what you choose to do and who you choose your kids to associate themselves with. And as well as parents, do you do your vetting, right? Do you talk to the family? Do you talk to the parents to get a good gauge of the character of their children and who they would be? Are you paying attention to not only the kids that your children are hanging out with, but the outside circles, right? The people that they're associated with. Are you paying attention to everything, right? Giving them the social awareness to make sure that they're keeping their head on a swivel, right? That they're paying attention to their surroundings, right? All these conversations are now starting to come back because obviously when we were in a different climate in this country, it was to the detriment, right? You had to make sure that you let a Black child know, hey, man, you can't go over there because them white folks over there, and if you go over there, they're going to do something to you. You can't be out here at this time of day because if you do, the police going to roll up on you and you might be, asked out. Anything can happen, right? Those type of conversations now have to start being had again because this is happening more and more and more, right? We already saw the fact that Carmelo got railroaded because he was in a predominantly white community and he defended himself against openly racist bullies. And now he's in prison. Okay? These conversations now need to start happening, man. How are we going to talk to the youth? How are we going to express, how are they supposed to move in these circles and in these spaces, right? Because for lack of better words, a lot of these opportunities that these athletes want to have at the D1 level, coming from a former athlete myself, those predominantly white institutions, those are going to be the ones who they want to aspire to be a part of because the opportunities that are afforded to them, the boosters, the money, the exposure, right? But we always talk about the fact that if all of our athletes just chose to specifically choose HBCUs over predominantly white institutions, it would change the NCAA as a whole. The entire college system would fall apart because every single program would be forced. They would be forced to play against HBCUs because the best talent would be there. And the eyes follow the talent. It's not the other way around, okay? Because we're going to see, right, more and more as these things start to happen, how it's going to as well start to water down, if you will, their situation. We already saw the impact of what's happening right now with the Asian businesses and how those are being completely blacked out. They effed around and found out that if we choose to separate ourselves and to take our money and focus it back into our community, that we can do it. So now the conversation has to be, what are we going to do as Black Americans with us socializing our children together with these people, allowing them to be in settings with these people? This is now the conversation that has to be had, y'all. Because like I told you guys, I grew up going to private school. My parents gave me great opportunities. I have a lot of friends who come from different backgrounds. But at the end of the day, my parents always prioritized me with making sure that I was attached to my roots. I had my family and I had my church family. There was never a time where I ever felt singled out because my parents prioritized, okay? And that's important. Your parents have to prioritize these things because if they don't, then you definitely will be put at a disadvantage, unfortunately. Unfortunately, you know what I'm saying? Because there's a big gap sometimes in the fact that people do not understand or realize that your children have to be acclimated into these situations. They have to be talked to. They have to be put in certain places to make sure that they can thrive. And obviously, yes, you want your children to get the best educations. You want your children to be safe. You want them to have the best opportunities possible, 100%. But that cannot as well be at the detriment of their own understanding and awareness, because everybody is not your friend. A lot of times people are plotting on you while they're smiling in your face. You guys got to be careful when you're putting your children in these institutions and not telling them, hey, man, be careful. Hey, man, make sure you're doing this. Make sure you're doing that. Make sure you're paying attention to what people say. Don't just be the only person at a lot of these settings. And if you are, don't go. That's just how it got to be at this point, because it's too risky. It's too risky. It's too risky for y'all to put your children at risk against the unknown. Anything can happen. Anything can happen, y'all. And like I mentioned, with the history of a place like Mississippi, there's no way that you guys should ever allow yourselves to not understand what's really going on out here, man. I mean that. You got to be careful, because it's going down. There's a lot of people who are really seriously not going to let this slide. Like I told y'all, the internet sleuths, the internet investigators, the true crime junkies, they are on this story. This is going to be a big story because a lot of people can relate to this. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to show y'all something real quick, just because this is what I do. I'm going to show y'all me because I'm a real person. All right. These are my friends. This is who I grew up with in middle school. All right. I went to a private school. I was around a bunch of different people. As you can see, these are my homies though. All right. Young. Okay. And when you young, you're just living life, right? These are good people. These are my bros right here. All right. But at the end of the day, sometimes in life, you grow up and you move on. You go and you do different things. Everybody has their own journey. And the fact of the matter is, you as a parent, it is your job to make sure you give your children the tools to understand discernment. Who's a good person, who's not a good person, who I should be around and who I can't be around. And if you see something in their friends, you see something that you don't like about their friends, you got to tell them. And you got to keep them away from those people. Even if they don't want it, even if they get upset, even if they don't like it. Because this is life or death out here, man. It really is. It's life or death out here, man. Because you got to think about his parents, man. You got to think about his parents and how they feel right now. You know what I'm saying? The hurt that they're going through right now, because they'll never be able to do this again. They'll never be able to hug their son. They'll never be able to speak to him again. And they'll never really know truly what happened to him. And that's the saddest part about these stories, you know. A lot of these stories that we've been covering over here on Elite Media, man, with, Cyrus Carmack Belton and, Carmelo Anthony and now Nolan Wells, man. These stories are sad, bro. It's real dark. It gets real dark, man. It's been something that, like I told y'all, like I had to take a personal break because this stuff it's not fun to talk about for me, man. I could talk about positive things and every, be in la la land, but that's not me. I got to talk about what's happening, and I got to talk about the real things that are going on in our world. And unfortunately, for a brother like Nolan Wells, man, a young brother, man, who is just trying to do his best, man, who is trying to figure it out, a young college student, you know what I'm saying, trying to find his way in life. His life was cut short. And why, we'll never know. That's the sad part. That's what I mean. The saddest part about this is we will probably truly never know what happened to this young man. Salute to Tia. She says, I went lice infected, inbred, clip-tailed schools And I never did anything outside of school with them. Yes, indeed. Same. Like I showed y'all, you know what I mean? I grew up going to private schools. Most times I was the only black person in the classroom or on the team, or you know what I'm saying? Just a lot of different scenarios, you know? And given all these stories that, like I said, we've been covering over these last couple weeks, talking about Carmelo Anthony, talking about Cyrus Carmack Belton, talking about now Nolan Wells. You know what I'm saying? Talking about stupid Jeff Metcalf and the racist, you know, just a lot of this stuff we've been talking about lately, man. It's been heavy, man. It's been real heavy. It's been hard to come on here and talk to y'all and try to keep it real and unbiased, because we're trying to just talk about the real truth and history of this country and what they've done to our people for generations. The historical data that backs up every single thing that we've been talking about over here for at least a year and a half, right? It's not easy, man. It ain't easy going on here having to deal with these racists underneath my comments talking crazy when we're just trying to speak truth to power and raise awareness for injustices that are happening right now in the country. They call us race baiters because we trying to keep it real, because we're not refusing to just be quiet. Nah, man, we got to talk about this. We got to make sure that we raise an awareness until we know exactly what happened to brother Cyrus and brother Carmelo and brother Nolan Wells. We gotta figure it out, man, because a lot of BS be going on, man. Salute to Unspoken, man. Hold on, let me pull you up real quick. See if we could get this going. All right, there we go. All right, you can unmute yourself.
Brandon,
what up?
It's good to see you. How are you?
Good, man. Good. So I saw your video. Y'all go make sure you check out Unspoken's new video. She just dropped the video today. Y'all go check it out. She's talking about the brother Nolan Wells and the dangers, okay? The dangers of being around these people. And like I said, we got to start having those conversations now because it's real. It don't get no realer than this. And like I mentioned earlier, we was just talking about the history of Mississippi and these mysterious cases. So you go ahead and cook on that, Unspoken. Give your synopsis. You can speak on the video, do your thing, but I'm gonna go on mute.
Brandon, I understand, because we've talked offline. So I understand your perspective and, why you're coming from your perspective. But you know me, I have a totally different perspective. I'm like radical Betty Shabazz over here. You know what I'm saying? I'm like riding a different wave because I feel like there are multiple things going on. Number one, we have people on the right, the Republicans, the conservatives, the alt-rights, the MAGAs, the Patriot Front, like all these people are trying to exhaust our energy. This is my personal opinion. They're trying to exhaust our energy and have us chasing many different things at the same time. And in my personal opinion, what we're going to be coming up against as Black people going forward in America, we cannot be exhausting our energy with every single Black death without proper context as to why are we going so hard for certain things. And so in my personal opinion, what I see from the Nolan Wells situation is that his parents, his dad does not seem that intelligent. This is just my personal opinion. I've seen the interviews and he was saying Nolan was colorblind. He allowed Nolan to be colorblind, knowing he's Black in Mississippi, right? And again, his mother, I get it. She's like a little mixed or whatever, but like his father is a whole Black man. He allowed him to be colorblind in Mississippi of all places, which is, again, we're from California. Like, our life is different. So when you showed the picture with your friends, they were all Hispanic, which can happen in California. But guys, check this. There's never been a history of any Black people being unalived on a regular with a group of Hispanics. There's never been any history of Black people being unalived with a group of Asians. So this is not the same thing. And being in California, it's very multicultural. It's very diverse. And so our existence does have other people frequently. It's very different for us versus Black people in Mississippi. It's very segregated. And most of Mississippi is very segregated. And most Black people don't have white friends. Even the rich Black people that live in rich Black communities in Mississippi, which are segregated, they have rich Black segregated communities in Mississippi. So again, he, in my personal opinion, his family was allowing him to live a cosplay white life. Okay. His whole existence from his Instagram was full of white people. And what happens when you enter into these spaces with all white people? Number one, they know you're not pro-Black. Because if you are pro-Black, if you are a Black resistance fighter, then guess what? White people really usually don't want to be your friend unless they're just real deal Holyfield, like rooted white people. They don't want to be friends with the Umar Johnsons. They don't want to be friends with, Malcolm X. Like, so I already know he wasn't pro-Black. Respectfully, this is just the truth, guys. We all know. Let's just be honest. Number one. Number two, white girlfriend. Like, we can see where his life was going to go. Again, this is not you in California. That's why I wanted to make this point and call in, because I feel like this perspective is necessary, because I understand completely your perspective, Brandon, because again, we're from California. Yeah. You having the Hispanic friends and everything is different. But like in Mississippi, when you're in these spaces with all white people, especially there, they know you're basically one of those Blacks that will do anything. Like you're down for the get down because you love to be around us so bad. And again, I think Black people, we need to start thinking about how white people see us, not how we're seeing it. How are they viewing you as a Black person, always wanting to be in all white spaces around all white faces? They're thinking you're not, you love us more than you love yourself, because don't you know you're not safe? Don't you know we can do whatever we want to you and like we'll get away with it? Because that is the history of America. And that's definitely the history of Mississippi. Black people ending up dead around white people. This is just the facts. So this is why I say, when you don't teach your kids to be racially minded, you're leading them to the slaughter. His parents, and I'm sorry, I disagree, Brandon. I got to disagree with you. Yeah. We do need to hold his parents to the fire, because Because even though I don't agree with everything about Carmelo's parents, one thing for sure, he loved himself. That's why he stood up for himself. So I can't knock them there, even if they're not the most intelligent or whatever. But I can't knock them at the fact that that's my opinion again. But I can't knock them based on how they're talking on interviews. But like, I can't knock them at the fact that he loved himself. That's why Carmelo stood up for himself. And he didn't run away. He stood up for himself. That's self-love. And he wasn't like, he didn't cow. So I can't, you know what I'm saying? I can't knock them that much. But Nolan's parents, I'm sorry. They're saying, they're on interviews. They're saying it's not about race. They're talking crazy because honestly, they know. And that's another thing about living with all white people, which I disagree. We should not live in all white people, in all white spaces. That's why I'm going to come out with this Black relocation guide. And the reason is because right now, if his parents lived in Atlanta, they would feel freely to speak about this because they know there would be no retaliation from the people around them. But they live in an all white city where they can easily end up unalive, like their son. There could be like their house could be lit on fire. They could get fired from their jobs. So they have to tippy toe, and they can't even if they do think it's about race, which I personally believe they believe the gaslight because they allowed their kid to operate like this. But like, even if they were believing it was about race, they can't. That's why they're letting Benjamin Crump speak for them. Like, if you notice, that's why they're letting him do the race stuff, because they don't want to be the one that, because they have to live in this city because they chose to live there. Right. So this is what I'm saying. Like, we're putting ourselves in these situations because we think that there's safety with white people, but we've never been safe with white people. That's a lie. Right. And they're tolerating you being in their neighborhood. They're tolerating you they don't really want you to be with them. They're just tolerating it because the law says that they can't say no to you. So they got to have a quota, right? That's why they want to end affirmative action, end DEI, and they're tolerating us, right? And so I just believe that his parents, they just led him to the slaughter. And again, if it's not about race, his dad's not about race, mom's not about race. Okay, why is Benjamin Crump involved? Why are you allowing Tyler Perry to get involved? Why is Colin Kaepernick doing, sending the body for an independent autopsy? It's like, my personal opinion, again, they're using Black people's energy from the community, and they're using Black celebrities to like foster some kind of like get some kind of results for this, but yet they're not bold enough to be like, hey, this is what it is, because they put them in this they put themselves in this situation, living in this place with all white people. It's like they put themselves in a locker room. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to explain this. Like, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, like they back themselves into a corner when you set yourself up like that. Like,
yes. And so,
yeah.
and then you've got the kid, you know, the friend coming on TMZ, like I showed in my video. You
Mm-hmm.
know, this kid, what the hell was the whole point of you coming on here? You just gave the alley hoop to white people. Like, you know, and this is the problem. And this is why I say I'm in my Betty Shabazz era, because I just feel like no mercy, no mercy, no mercy, no mercy, no mercy. Because Black people, we have to really start deciding as a community how much energy we're going to give to certain situations. Obviously, this is unfortunate. I really don't even have to say that. Like, he looks like a nice kid overall. Like, obviously, it's terrible that he died, period. Whether it was an accident, which I don't believe. But, you know, I believe they probably unalived him. But I am so hard ass because I just would never be in a situation like that. And I just feel like we have to start holding people to the fire, the parents, about talking to their children about how you live in a white supremacist country. You live in a country that says I'm white and I say so. So as soon as you enter into a space with all white people, all of your rights have already gone down from 100% via the law to 30%. Versus when you're with a group of Black people, even if some shit goes down, you all have 100% of your rights. What does that mean? That means that if Black people unalive you, they're going to get held accountable, because America will always hold Black people accountable for anything we do against anyone. Against the dog, against the cat, we shoot a dog, we're going to jail. We do anything. But as soon as you enter into an all white situation, you don't have the same amount of value anymore in the eyes of these people, and you don't have the same amount of rights as these people. And I think this is what Black people are failing to understand, because so many of us want to be seen. We want to have access. We want to have, and white people have access. They have boats, they have yachts, they have families that are judges, lawyers, you know, etc. We want access, right? But what comes with that access? A lot of the times hazing comes with that access. Oh, you want to be the only Black person? We're going to haze you. There's a video I saw where this Black girl went to a pool party. She was the only Black girl and her hair was straight. She got her hair straightened. And for some reason in her mind, she thought that these white people were going to be on code with her not wanting to be in the pool. No, boo, that's a Black thing. We respect the fact that your hair is straight, and we know that you don't want to get in this damn pool. These white people saw it as, oh, you asking for it. Again, we're not thinking how they think. We're thinking how we think. We're thinking, oh, we're going to go to this cool party. All these white people got money. They got access. I like to be close to white people because they got access. They got proximity. They got this, da, 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 da. But guess what? You have to pay for that. You have to pay for that. It's hazing time. So what did they do? They're, you know, doing racial epithets at her, you know, doing what they do. You know what I'm saying? Like, they know it's you against all of them, and you chose to be in that room. So it's hazing time. They end up throwing her in the pool, making racial sounds and stuff, and just, you know, playing with her. But they weren't playing. They were letting her know, like, that you wanted to be with us. This is what you get. And this is just my real take on this. I don't, like I said, I have a different take from you. I feel like we need to we need to decide how we're going to spend our energy. I just feel like, you know, all these Tamala Horsford, all these, again, Black woman with 5 kids. Why the hell are you at a sleepover with 5 white women by yourself? And their husbands were there and yours wasn't. This is what I mean. See, and I'm not going to get on here and cry for you. I'm sorry. I'm not, because we don't really a lot of us, we don't understand. We don't value our Black life, and we don't understand how in any situation, when we're in a situation with people that have more power than us because of the law, because of white privilege, we're surrendering our power. And then everybody wants to, you know, be in the streets about this, but it's like, no. This is why I'm happy the Carmelo situation happened, because this is a clear difference in my opinion.
Mhm.
And my support is different for the both. That's just the truth. Because how I see his life playing out, and I know you said people change and everything. I think that's a California thing. I think in Mississippi, Black people, if they have Black power, it's not enough for them. Do you know what I mean? Like, let me explain to you.
Mm.
Like in Mississippi, the Black people who have money and who live all Black segregated lives and live good and they have money, I think they've chosen, they don't care about white people or the white gays. They're not trying to move up into spaces where they need white people. But I think where he was going and his trajectory based on that city and how he felt like he was, you know, in with them, I honestly see him having a white girlfriend, continuing to live that fake life. And he was not going to be, in my opinion, for the movement, for radical Black resistance against white supremacy. And that's just the truth. And I would love to see his, you know, his full Instagram, because there was a lot of screenshots that I used in my video that I found on Google Images. But I would love to see on his Instagram if he ever talked about Black Lives Matter or like anything like that. Like, I would love to see how, you know, how much he participated in speaking about Black atrocities, you know, Black unalivings, George Floyd, etc. Because I just would love to see that, because again, I'm not going to say he didn't because I haven't seen it, but again, when you have an all white friend group, you're you know, intrinsically you're not allowed to say certain things. You're not allowed to vocalize certain thoughts, because it's just going to cause conflict, because they're not on board with that. They don't support that. So yeah, I'm done. I've exhausted myself. You know how I do.
Hey, well, no, I like it good. That's what this is for, you know, like it's all for, you know, like I mentioned, I put the link in there so that y'all can come up and let off, you feel me? Because it's not just my perspective. Like, I need to hear everybody's perspective. So salute to you. Thank you. Round of applause for our unspoken, always coming through, showing up. You feel me? Giving great perspective. But you're right. I think right now, this conversation is really going to change into that. It's going to be a real distinction now. We're going to start seeing, like you mentioned, the support that Carmelo's getting is different from, I think, the support that Nolan will get, because right now, this is something that is still trying to be figured out. And we're all got our eyes on this shit. You know what I mean? Like, regardless of who you are, like, everybody's watching. What up, Tori? How you doing, brother? Appreciate you pulling up, man. Welcome.
What's going on?
So we talking about, obviously, the Nolan Wells. I'm gonna call it right now a mystery, because we still do not know everything that happened. But
Yeah.
I would love to hear your perspective. Unspoken, she just gave hers, and obviously, you know, there's a definition, like she mentioned, a distinction, you know, between what happened to him and his parents and how he was raised, and, you know, all those things considered, you know. So your perspective, sir.
Well, first off, it's actually interesting that you've been having this discussion, like, because tomorrow I'm actually going to be doing like the history on the dangers of being the Black friend. Like, and the thing is, when I was
Yes,
creating it, as I was creating it, more and more names popped up. Like, it's so crazy how far back it actually goes about being the one and only Black friend in the group or in the social circle. And I think it's like a thing of, how can I put it? When when you have reached like a certain level where you think that you are above the fray, like you're above it all, but you're really not, that's how you get trapped into this cycle. And then when you look at the stuff that's get put on social media by certain groups, like they could keep, like how they look. Okay, perfect example. You know how like the usual suspects have, like last year they remixed, well not remixed, but they stole and turned around Black fatigue. You put that out there enough times for people who are impressionable, they'll start to believe it, and then they'll believe that white people aren't like that, because they have to constantly put out imagery of Black people acting a certain way, especially over on Twitter. They are consistently doing that, and you put that imagery out there enough, and people say, "Oh, that's how every Black." They see that and they say, "Oh, that's how every Black person acts." And then what it is, it'll lure them away into their space, and then boom, that's when they hit them with the trick bag.
Yeah, I actually made a video about that. Black fatigue does not mean you're tired of Black people. It means you're tired of white racism. A woman wrote a whole book about that. It does. They took the whole word like they took woke. It doesn't even mean that. Like,
Yeah, they bastardized it. And I'm not in the least bit surprised. And the thing is, it didn't even take Black people long to find out that what Black fatigue actually was when white people got a hold of it, because they was like, okay, because it doesn't make any sense. Like, whenever we see, say for instance, and Brandon, I know you was away when this happened, the incident that happened down in Florida in the parking lot at the Walmart.
Yes, bro.
So,
I
so that
really
was
want to.
clap
I
for
want
that
to wait for
sister.
that to
Clap for
play
that
out a
sister,
little bit
Brandon.
more. But I definitely saw that, and like obviously, a lot of people reacted to. I saw your
Clap
videos.
for her.
But yeah, like I'm very curious, like with the climate, you know what I'm saying? Like obviously it was in my opinion clear indication of self-defense, like clear. Like she's
but notice
retreating.
notice how they tried to remix it. Because when
Yeah,
it's almost like it's almost like it's either written in the fine print or invisible ink
well,
that
she
Black people aren't not allowed
stood
to.
over him. I don't know
Right,
why she would
exactly.
say like,
Or
bro,
why
are
didn't she?
y'all serious?
Why didn't she leave or anything like that? They try to make it seem like she was the aggressor and everything. I'm like, no. You look at the whole
Yes.
video. Of course, they was only trying to put bits and pieces together to try to make it seem like she was the aggressor. Like, no, he was following her. But what really got me about that story was when I was looking at the video, because I had did a commentary about it. Was when they had interviewed the man's daughter, and I said her when she was talking, it sounded very performative because in the news clip, it said that she and her father, who was the one who got popped, was estranged for years. Like he said, they did not have any type of relationship like since she was a little girl, and then he came back into her life when she's a grown adult and got like 3 kids. And she was like, they just reconnected. I was like, well, and how she was talking about him, it was like you talking about this man like he was in your life all the time, and he just got back into your life. Let's be honest, you had a deadbeat dad. Something that they love to talk about Black men being with their kids.
You know that. That's the first thing they gonna bring up, bro. The first thing they gonna talk about
Wait. Torian.
is the broken family.
Go ahead.
Torian, didn't Jason Black say that dude in Florida wasn't even white? Was he like Hispanic or something?
He was like something like that. That last name was not your typical white American last name. It wasn't. Like I had to look at it. I had to listen to them say it on the news clip before I said it myself in the video
His
to make
name
sure I
is
didn't mispronounce it.
Bart Deglimo.
Yeah, it's
Italian.
Something. It sounds Italian. It sounds Italian. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, he's a late white. He's a late white.
Yeah, that's what I call. You know what I call him, the new white. Because they only been classified under white for like 100-some years. So
exactly.
but yeah, when I had saw that and the way that they tried to remix how like self-defense, and I was like, oh, see, and the thing is, they don't realize when they do that they're hurting themselves. It's going to come back and bite you at the end of the day, because what we're going to do is we're going to remember this and use this as a case study. So when it happens to you, we were like, hold on. Remember what happened down in Florida with that Black woman? Y'all said this and this and this. And then watch, they're going to move the goalposts again. I'm talking about habitual goalpost movers.
Yeah, and I love how Jason showed.
Hold on, y'all. Let me read this comment. Rosie salute. She says, we must befriend one another first and foremost. We are spiritually, we are brothers and sisters. Why can't we just have compassion and understanding for ourselves? We live in continual war zone. Okay, Rosie, I just have a quick question for you, ma'am. When you're talking about ourselves, what is your lineage, so that I can know like what you mean by that? Just because I could answer that question, but it definitely is predetermined on your background, because there's been, obviously, and this is something that, we've all kind of spoken on separately, but I will speak for myself in this scenario. Black Americans have been the most forgiving and understanding of all people on planet Earth. That cannot be debated. When it comes to what has happened to us and the things that we have been through, terrorized constantly over generations of time, we have always found a way to give people the benefit of the doubt, to be accepting and understanding of what they did to us as the victims. And it really upsets me to my core when we always have to be the moral high ground for the entire world to admire, but in the same token, we don't get the respect that is deserved for us having to hold that burden. Somebody help me understand how that makes sense for Black Americans to always be the ones to have to hold the shoulders of everybody else when we want to say, nah, man, we need to actually worry about ourselves now. We can't hold that cross no more, y'all. We can't bear it, bro. All right. So
Rosie,
regardless, like, you know, I'm not trying to go off on you, Rosie,
she's one of my
but just from
subscribers
my
as well.
perspective,
She's
that's
FBA.
just really where I'm at with it. Like, I can't keep going with the we need to be friends and can we all just get along? Like, bro, we've been trying to do that.
But Rosie, she's one of my subscribers. So she's FBA. So she's saying that we have to befriend one another first. She's saying that Black people, like, we're not befriending ourselves. That's what she's saying. Yeah. Like, we are spiritually brothers, sisters, but we just have to. She's saying we don't stick up for ourselves, Black people.
Yeah. Because it's important, man. Like, and that's just some of the narrative too that I want to put out here too, is the fact that like that part of this story is being pushed. And I don't like it. I don't like the fact how they're trying to gaslight Black people because we know that something is going on, right? We know the history of this place and the fact that we always have to be the ones to be, no, guys, just be cool, okay? It's not what you think. I'm tired of that shit, bro. I really am. Like,
she's saying for ourselves, like, we don't have
but just like, for the point, though, right? Just for the point in like the atmosphere that we're in right now, I want to make that clear. Like, I got to make that distinction, is the fact that I'm seeing this narrative trying to be crept in, right? Because there are now even people, right? Like when we looked at the whole Amber Geiger situation, right? With Botham Jean. Now that's coming back up, right? Because of how forgiving, right, the judge was and his family was. Meanwhile, this white lady went ahead and unalived this man while he was eating ice cream in the comfort of his own home. We supposed to be accepting.
No, she's not talking about that. But I agree with you.
And also too, well, first things first, both of y'all on Instagram, right?
Yes.
Do me a favor. The next time you go on IG, go into the search bar and type in this page name, Leave Black People Alone TV.
Oh,
and
I'm
telling you, are you familiar with that page?
Familiar with that stuff.
Okay, never mind. Then I don't have to go any further than that. I'm about to discover that page maybe about 2 weeks ago. I must have spent an hour looking at them videos. But it's funny that you was talking about like forgiving and everything like that, because Professor Black Truth did a video yesterday. No, well, for me, it's 2 days ago because it's after 12 here.
Mm-hmm.
But the one that he did on the judge that presided over the Dylan Roof trial, and what he said during that trial, before the trial even began. Fast forward to now, you see the degenerate stuff that he was involved with.
Mm-hmm. I did a whole live stream on that guy, and mind you, when I did a live stream on it, YouTube made sure that video didn't get no views. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say.
I almost uploaded it.
Dark, like when I talk about the darkest of PDF files and PDF file behavior. He's the worst. He's the worst I've ever seen. Like real talk. Like dealing with underage children no older than a years old, y'all. This is the type of person we're dealing with here. A judge, okay?
Yeah, because I had posted it up as a TikTok video, but I didn't go into all of the detail. I just kind of I stayed surface level with it, and man, it was absolutely insane when I heard all the details on Sunday. Like that was absolutely. I was just sitting there, just like
You got to put
I,
disclaimers on them videos straight up.
exactly like put viewer discretion is advised at the beginning of it or something. But
Right.
yeah, it was absolutely insane what I learned about this one individual.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all living pervert lives. But I wanted to go back to the Florida thing. I love that Jason showed the whole video, Jason Black, when he was like, this dude was chasing her around the car for several minutes. Do you understand? Like and then they're like, oh, well, she could get to her car to get the gun. Yeah, but she could get into her car and then he's standing in front of it. And then if she drives and hits him, then she's going to prison. Like, there's no way out of this. There's no way. I was so proud of her, man. We need to give that woman claps.
Yeah, let me give her a round of applause.
Yeah,
for
give
the,
her a round of
for the sister standing on business. You know, sometimes we gotta stand business against these irrational people. We'll say irrational.
And he was so dumb. Like, why would you chase after someone who clearly has a firearm pointed at you, loaded, like, and you are still approaching them as if you must have thought you was on TV or something,
Look,
and that you would that you would come back to life.
Tia said it best. It's their nature. That's in their nature. They do not have it in them to just let something go. They always gotta push.
And I've always said, and I have always said in my videos that white men in particular have the worst road rage. I have heard stories and seen stories where if you cut them off, they will follow you all the way. They will go out of their way to follow you and confront you. This is a funny story right here. This black it was this black woman who I think at one point was dating this white guy, but she broke up with him, and I can see why, because the guy was clearly out of his mind. But she said that this dude every day would drive down her block just yelling slurs to her or whatever. But one day I don't know what made her like record him as he was coming down the street yelling slurs out of his window down. Now, mind you, she's in a residential neighborhood, so you shouldn't be driving fast down a residential neighborhood. This dude had to have been doing at least 30 in a 10. And he was driving down so fast and yelling at this woman from his car. He wasn't paying attention. He literally ended up hitting a parked car on the other side of the street and almost flipped his truck over. When he got out of the car, he was starting to walk over towards her and cuss her out like it was her fault that he hit that car. And all she did was just sit there and just like laugh at him and was like, okay, like, huh? She was like, I got you on video, so you better not come like too close to me. But you messed your car up. It was so funny because he got so upset because he crashed his own car because he wasn't paying attention.
Nah, people are crazy, bro. Like, and yeah, you're right. Unspoken. I seen that documentary too on Hinge. Yeah, it's look, there's like
it was a movie. It was countless,
so good. Like countless videos and movies. Like you can even go on YouTube and type in dash cam videos of people with road rage. There's dudes who are shooting literal pistols out of their front windshield because they're upset about somebody cutting them off. Like when they talk about us not having impulse control and all this other stuff.
This is why I'm saying black people with what's coming to us, we need to only be supporting riders. What's your track record? Are you riding for black society? Can we rely on you? Are you on code? Can we count on you? Because those are going to be the people that are going to work to help us save ourselves, not the people that are trying to be with other people and trying to live a fake life. And I just got to keep it 1,000 right now. Like, it's going to be the people like the woman in Florida. It's going to be like Carmelo. It's going to be like they love their black lives more than they care about protecting your white fragility.
Michael Johnson.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
100%. You know. And that's why it's like it's an interesting perspective now, because these stories, obviously, they're all kind of happening all at the same time, and we're all in this same world, right? But in reality, like it's one of those things. You're right. We are starting to see that distinction of people who are just not willing to take it. You know what I mean? we heard about obviously what the sister did to them lawyers who was terrorizing her and her mother.
Oh
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
That's another one we need to
Yeah,
support.
like, you know,
I remember
we
that.
yeah, there's a lot of outliers, right?
Also, oh, let me type his name in this because I want to make sure I got his name correct.
Yeah,
Let me
sure.
see.
Yeah, but it's, you know, we gotta make sure that we give people that credit because we already know what's going on. And the fact that we are now not being so, like you said, easy to just take.
Rodney Hinton Jr.
Yes, sir. 100%.
Now
Held his head
that was the definition of eye for an eye.
Hey, listen, you know, I've been seeing a lot of conversations, right? Obviously, when it comes to Nolan Wells, right? And a lot of parents, you know, I got friends who are parents, you know, and we were talking about this. And a lot of parents, you know, told me that these parents are a lot better than them. Because if my kid is missing and you got yours, that's all I'm gonna say. Okay. I've been hearing them type of conversations.
But
it's
that's
like, you know, my kid is being put in a body bag. Well,
yeah.
Where you know what I'm saying? Well, you know, that's all I'm gonna say.
Those are black riders, though. Those are black riders that live in black neighborhoods and communities. Let's just keep it real.
And also too, like the one in it was one in New York, and Professor Bletchu brings this one up often. The one where it was some white teens or something like that was bullying this black man's son or something like that, and then they had the nerve to actually try to roll up mob style to his house to go after his one black son, and dad was like, "Oh no, this ain't happening." That guy went in there and got his power tool and popped off on one of them. One of them died, and they scattered like roaches and everything. The other one was literally dying, like probably in the yard. You know that they end up in New York. They tried to get him, like literally, they came to his house, and you wasn't about to allow this man to claim self-defense.
Oh, that's the thing about New York, and they got the gun law thing too there, huh?
Yeah. New York has very strict gun laws, very strict gun laws,
which makes sense because they got all them people in one consolidated area. So,
and I tell people all the time, you know,
that didn't stop whatchamacallit, what was his name? The one that went to the grocery store.
Where? That was upstate. And you know what's interesting is upstate New York, because I lived in New York before. Upstate New York is like the country.
It is. I've been to upstate New York years ago, and it's a vast difference between upstate New York and where the 5 boroughs are.
It's like Ohio.
It's like a whole new place. It's a whole new world.
Yeah,
I always said every city that has a metropolitan in it definitely has a country rural area there.
Yeah, because the white people were trying to get away, and then, there they are. But then there was a black community in upstate New York though for a long time that was really solid. They had like a black resort up there too, I believe. Yeah,
and I tell people, you know, the story, obviously, you know, a lot of people forget about him, but Christopher Dorner, you know, I was out here.
That's another soldier. Give it up for that man. Give it up.
Hold on, let me make sure I get him his applause too. You know, to the hero and you know, a real individual, Christopher Dorner. You know, like I said, I tell this story all the time, but my dad was on the force when he was on the force, and they knew each other. You know what I'm saying? And it's very interesting, you know, just the story of what he went through, and obviously the corruption that he saw, right? And you know, there's a lot of people who aren't sitting back no more. You know, obviously. There's a lot of corruption that's been going on for generations, and especially for Black Americans who had to sit back, who have dedicated their lives, who, you know, everybody knows that Christopher Dorner was a decorated military veteran, okay? It's a guy with a lot of, you know, military training that the LAPD just wasn't ready for, all right? And it's a lot of brothers out there who got a lot of really serious training, and, you know, at the flip of a switch, anything could go down.
I've
And
always said the LAPD is in my top 5 most corrupt police departments.
oh yeah,
Oh, for sure.
it's
For
bad,
sure.
bro. Like it's
Well,
one
you
of the
know the
worst.
history. They moved up a lot of the white
Hmm.
police officers from the South. And this is
Yep.
why LAPD actually became worse because them white boys from LA, like born and raised, they can't. They will never possess the amount of hatred for black people like a white person that's born in Los Angeles. They will never possess the amount of hatred for black people like a white person from the South will
Hmm.
because they are born in Los Angeles. And me and Brandon, we both know that. Like, it's like
Yeah.
those kind of white people, they're yuppies. And again, they're in these liberal places. But guess what? Guess what the positive is? They're taught about racism. They're taught about microaggressions. White people in LA that are from there, they will correct themselves. They know better. But see what they
Yeah.
did in LAP, this is the truth. But what they did in the LA, they're not perfect, but you get what I'm saying. But the
Hmm.
LAPD, they actually recruited a lot of white people, men from the South, to come up and be police officers so they can keep Los Angeles segregated. Because as blacks started making more money, they wanted to move out of areas that were all black, naturally. They wanted to
Hmm.
balloon, okay, I want to go, I want to move, right? And they didn't want that. So yeah, they made LAPD worse than it ever needed to be. Really, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, people forget that the SWAT team in general was invented because of the Watts riots. You know what I mean? Like
Oh yeah.
the history of the police department and obviously Black Americans in California is a real one because we rode and stood on business multiple times. Obviously, we've talked about
Absolutely.
the Rodney King riots. We was just talking about that when it was in reference to what had happened to the brother Carmack Belton. You know what I mean? We was doing a reference with Latasha Harlins and what happened to her. And we're talking about obviously the riots, right? And what that did to the city and how much it destroyed the city, right? Our city was never the same after that, and I always talk about this, me and my parents, we was kicking it for 4th of July or whatever. And we were talking about the riots, because my parents had been watching my content and stuff, so we just talking. And
Nice.
it's funny that, from maybe when I was young, I didn't, I remember certain details, but obviously I was still young at the time. But just talking about my parents and just how dangerous the city was and how much damage it did, I know for a fact that changed the trajectory of just how policing had to be in the city after that, because they knew that the brothers was going to do what the brothers had to do. And I don't think they'd ever want that to happen again. Obviously, we saw that fool Jake Lang get his ass ran up out of here.
He,
You
we
know,
know he went back recently, and they folded him again. Like
yeah,
they really rolled him again the next time he
bro.
went
This is
there.
LA, man. We don't play that stuff here, bro. That extra trying to be okay. You want attention? All right, cool. We gonna put a foot in your butt and kick you
Oh,
right up the street. What you
I
talking
wanted to
about?
talk about that too, though. I thought it was funny how he said a mob of black people. It was only one black dude, and he was mixed because everybody, we all mixed in California to some extent. You know what I'm saying? You know what it is, and
Mhm.
it's like, yo, you made it
Yeah.
seem like it was a whole mob of real niggas. It was actually Hispanics, because here's what people don't understand about Los Angeles: the Hispanics won. Okay, they won, like they're the majority, but the thing is that they don't like disrespect of any kind. So even if a
Mhm.
Hispanic in LA doesn't necessarily with black people like that, if you come in the way you do, they're going to take that advantage to swing on you. Like, they're going to take that advantage to get you out of there, because they just don't like this kind of blatant disrespect of any kind. Like, even if they don't have black friends, it's just the LA thing. I think people just don't understand. Like, you're not going to come in there. They know you're hate, so they're not going to accept it. Because if they have a personal prejudice, it's never going to be the way Derek Lang's going to do it, or Derek, whatever his name is. It's never going to be like that. It's just going to be a personal thing. They're never going to come out there with signs, and that's like crazy. And they think you're crazy for even, especially because they all love BET. They love black culture in LA. They know what it is. So it
Mhm.
was Hispanics giving him the business. It wasn't even,
Mhm.
it was one black dude. You know what I'm saying? But it was like Hispanics giving him the business for the most part. We don't even need to be out there. They'll do our work for us just because they don't like you. Also, they were hit with ICE. They were dealing with ICE.
Mhm.
ICE should have never showed up in LA. The reason is because that's like going to Atlanta to terrorize Black people. That's what ICE did to LA. Now you already know LA is their stomping ground. Let's be honest. Whether you like it or not, whether you accept it or not, I don't give a damn. Everybody knows and understands that's just what it is. It's what it is. California was Mexico. We had a war, we took it, but there's a lot of their influence there. And so I think it is some kind of thing with them there. But like, long story short, what they did there was unacceptable and they should have known better. It's like I said, it's like going to Atlanta to terrorize Black people. You're going to the Black Mecca. It's like that's LA for Latinos. So they're already on edge about that. And now you're going to come here. Yeah, they're in fight mode. So you got hit with the Hispanic business. We didn't even have to come out. And he went downtown. And Brandon, we talked about that offline. He went downtown. There's no Black people downtown. For all the Black people listening, in Los Angeles, Black people, we are 5% of the entire state of California, 5 to 7%. Okay, no more than 7% of the max. Okay, it fluctuates because we got a lot of mixed Black folk. But at the end of the day, we are an extreme minority in California. You have to go into Black areas if you want Black energy in California. Downtown Los Angeles is not a Black area.
He went down there because it said the BET Awards. So I'm gonna go there because I figured that's where all the Black people was at, and
that's where the rich Black people are.
That's where the rich Black people are. He wasn't getting in there, and then they met him, like you said, with the energy. And like I said, he recently went back, like last week. I don't know what part of LA that was in, but that one it was no Black people there from what I saw, and that's when I saw. That man literally got rolled. Someone literally grabbed him and threw him on the ground. He rolled like three or four times.
Some cholo. Handle it. Like they'll handle it for us. We don't even got to do nothing. They'll handle it for us. Honestly, that's how LA is. You know,
and how ignorant is and how like out of touch do you have to be to think that Black people still are like gung ho about BET? Like,
right.
Bro, so like
BET ain't been Black owned since 2000.
Facts.
Not relevant at all. You know, obviously, sure, if you want to, you know, catch some celebrities, which he was, you know, trying to do essentially, right? But even then, like, you're not even getting like the real Black artists. Like, you're getting, you know.
And two additional things that annoy me with Jake Lang, outside of him, of course, being definitely anti-Black, is one, he has bad and horrible posture. Have you seen this man walk? I mean, this dude walks like he is a Tetris block, and it's just horrible. And then the other thing too, he be killing me when he wears that small little toy vest. He looks like Doofy from Scary Movie. That's who it is. That's who he reminds me of. When he wears that, when he reminds me of Doofy.
Nah, it's wild. I mean, because you got to think like, these people in their head, they think they're the shit. Like he thinks that he just, you know what I mean? Like he thinks.
And this dude is like 31. He is 31. Yes. He is 31 years old, and he when my subscribers found out how old he was, they was like, "Hold on, they must." I said, "We need to see some ID," because I don't believe that this man is only 31 years old.
There's no way. There's no way. Yeah, that's what hate will do to you. That's what self-hate will do to you. That's what anxiety will do to you, because this guy has to always keep his head on a swivel because he always got something to say about everybody else. Right?
And what be killing me is when he be going when he be going. No, I'm saying when he goes outside and everything like that. I'm sure y'all saw it in the video. When they was like putting hands on him, he was like, "Stop touching me! Stop hitting me!"
Bro, that's a dude who's never been in a fight. Who doesn't?
Right, you can tell. He's never been in a fight.
Yeah, he doesn't have any real like life experience. You could tell he's always been coddled by his mother. His mother's trying to call to get him bailed out and see how they're treating him in jail when he's antagonizing and being racist. Imagine that. Imagine you get to be a racist and your mama still making sure that you okay off the bull crap antics that you're pulling out here on the daily.
It's the land of white supremacy, man. I'm telling you. I think he's a paid agitator, though.
100%.
I think somebody's funding him. What do you guys think?
Yeah, because I believe so too. Because like, how is he able to afford to go to all these places? And it's not like these are places that you could just drive to. Like you got to fly to some of these places, and I highly doubt he's driving cross country to get to these places. But my thing is this: he was holding up a sign out there called "Black Parents and Failures," but you the one out there walking around with a whole ankle monitor on.
What does that make your mother? You know what I'm saying?
First off, how does that? Well, Black Parents Are Failures outside of the BET Awards, where all these Black people have more money than he'll ever have. Like, make that make sense. Like, what do you mean? Like that all these Black people were raised by somebody and they're successful, even if we don't all agree with their different versions of success. But nonetheless, that sign is a moot point in front of BET, especially like the awards.
Yeah, but that's the thing about racists. It don't got to make sense.
And that's what, and that goes, and unspoken, it goes back to what LBJ said years ago about, convincing the lowest white man that he's more successful than the most wealthiest Black man.
Right.
Like Jake Lang feels like, because he knows that he doesn't have all the money in the world. He knows he'll never attain a certain level of wealth, but he knows he has his whiteness at the end of the day, and that privilege, and that to him makes him feel superior.
Right.
Because he says, I may not have the wealth of, say, I'll put a Robert S. Smith. I'll put someone out there like that. I may not have the wealth of a Robert S. Smith, who was like the third richest like Black American in the establishment. Who, by the way, back in 2019 paid off the student loans for the graduating class in Morehouse. I always like to bring that up. Yeah. But he may not have the wealth of a Robert F. Smith, but because he has his whiteness and privilege, is what will make him feel superior to him.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I'm sure Robert F. Smith wanted to, he could activate the gauntlet at any given time on Jake Lang, and that would be it.
Of course.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Obama's kids real quick, because when I think about because I want to kind of bring it back for a minute. Like, I want to bring it back to I feel like when I think about Black kids that are safe with all white kids, the only kids I could think of is Obama's kids, Malia and Sasha. And the only reason is because Obama was the president, and he will send in the Secret Service or some kind of mercenary to off you. And everybody knows that. Like that's how it's got to be. Like, if you grew up rich your whole life and you went to school with a majority whites, but you were always rich, they were always rich, your dad's a judge, your mom's a lawyer, their dad's a judge, their mom's a lawyer, and your whole life nobody ever went bankrupt, everybody kept their status, their class status. That's the only time I could see where white people would feel like there is danger if I decide to pull I'm white and I say so and do something to you, I will pay the severe consequences for this death. I feel like that's the only situation where that would go down, where you would actually be held accountable. Like, it's got to be like the exact same level. Nobody's class status ever fell, same money. You see what I'm saying? It has to be where they fear something happening to you, because they know they will be held accountable either legally or illegally.
Yeah, and that's why I think, obviously when we talk about tangibles for foundational Black Americans, the anti-Black hate crime bill really does actually reign true with a lot of these stories that we've gone over literally this whole night. Like, obviously, like we mentioned, we already talked about the history of Mississippi and the way that they've treated Black Americans over a generation of time. And the fact that it all lines up, I really do think that these type of things, like you mentioned, if there is legislation that tells people, hey, man, these racially charged crimes are going to be held on a federal level, at least we could second guess about what they're doing. I mean, it's not going to stop, because people are going to still do what they want to do. At the end of the day, like, Black folks still got to move
differently.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
That's
but
why we got to
for
gatekeep.
the most part, go ahead, Torian.
No, I was going back to unspoken. It's funny that you mentioned Obama's kids. Do you know who Sasha is actually currently dating?
Yeah, the Clifton Powell's son.
Mm-hmm.
They said, and I had to look it up to see if they were still dating. Apparently, from what I gathered, they are still dating and have been dating since 2022.
I hope that works out.
Could you imagine though if they got married? Could you imagine to have, like, that's just how it is with Martin's daughter and Eddie Murphy's son.
Yeah.
Right.
And now they and
Well,
now they and now they both have a child together. They said that people saying that's gonna be one
that's
funny baby when they
beautiful.
grow up because look at who their
Exactly.
grandfathers are.
Exactly. And I think the other one, she was dating an Ethiopian guy that was like 31. He was like much older than her, like 7 or 8 years older than her. He's like Ethiopian. Um, so yeah, I mean, hopefully listen, they're the only kind of black kids that can be in that space and be 100% safe because Obama will send a mercenary to off whoever touches his kids. But the truth is that my personal opinion on that is I don't know if Obama really wants them to marry. I don't know. Maybe he does want them to marry black now because of all the hate he's still getting. Even you know what I'm saying. Maybe he does want them to marry black, but I don't know. What do y'all think?
I think
Well, look,
that when it's at that level, it's almost, they have to almost date in a bubble, if that makes
Yeah,
sense. Like when you are on that Ivy League presidential federal level, like
yeah,
they can't just hang out with the everyday average Joe.
because you
Like,
think about it, like the people that we said Sasha's dating Clifton Powell's son. Clifton
mhm,
Powell's a man of means. He's
sure.
a well renowned actor who's been in the game for many years. And you
Mhm,
said that Malia's dating an Ethiopian guy. I'm sure he's probably a man of means.
that
So
part.
yeah, so it's
yeah.
like you they can date a melanated or a black person, but they definitely have to be in a certain tax bracket or come from
Mhm.
some kind of good stock. I would say like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ivy
but I
League
wonder if that's good
family,
enough
stuff like
though for
that.
Obama. I wonder if that's good enough for Obama. You know?
You know what's so crazy? I wouldn't be surprised considering how PC treated him over the years. He probably was like, "Look, this is how it's going to be, but there are some stipulations."
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I think, yeah, at that level, you're protecting the family legacy at that point. The lineage has to be locked in. And, a lot of these families, they date from within, they date across, each other. Obviously, we know Trump's children and they're dating the Kushners and all that connections. And obviously, there's a lot of back and forth in that. And we're going to see
But
more of it as these kids grow older. We're
but
going to
I will
see.
say this, and not like I really care because I don't really care about the Obamas. But well, I will say this: his kids, I think Malia and Sasha should marry black because BET, the owner of BET, Bob Johnson, his
Mhm.
daughter married a white dude, and he used her, and then divorced her, and then remarried a white woman. So,
Oh,
and she rode equestrian. Yeah, she grew up in that world. She rides equestrian. Oh, she's one of those. Like she's very cultured, but she still didn't understand. Like
You
Mhm.
don't want
she's
to know.
saying, oh, go on.
You want to know who is like a person who I guess you can say will be the example of all around black excellence? Victor Glover,
Mm.
Who's that? Victor
the
Glover.
astronaut,
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
the one that
what's up?
the one that went up and the one that went up and did the orbit a couple months ago. And the reason
Yeah.
I say
Oh
it,
yeah. I
yeah,
just looked
Mhm.
it
I
up.
mean down to the dog. I mean the dog is
Mhm.
even black.
Yeah, yeah. My dad actually knows him personally. They're like in the same fraternity or whatever. But yeah, he's a great guy, and obviously, like you mentioned,
He's
like he
from
comes from a real
Pomona.
yeah,
He's
he's
from
he's
Pomona.
he's got a real history. Like
Wow.
obviously, he's an exceptional athlete, which kind of a lot of people don't know. But he's like a legend in Pomona for Pomona
I
sports,
see
and
his
then
family.
yeah,
Beautiful.
and then he just
Wow.
went on to become an astronaut and all the things. But yeah, great dude, like you said, and he keeps it ultra black over there.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's a part of it,
I love
if you're gonna do it and you're gonna keep it within your own, like you can really do some things. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully, I just wish
his
more black
family's
people
beautiful.
would take more heed of that. And like you said, we don't
Wow.
know what the Obamas will do or the daughters, what they'll choose, but I hope that they do choose somebody who reflects their own background because yeah, they will definitely, catch some hell whether they want to or not. That's just the public eye that they're in.
Yeah, and then her Bob Johnson, his son is with a black girl, but the
Mhm.
daughter, yeah, she married that white dude. He ended up divorcing her, probably cheated on her, and then remarried a white woman. and just moved on along. And he was not, oh, here's the point I wanted to make. He did not have the same amount of money that Bob Johnson had. His family wasn't the same status, but he was white. And that's unacceptable. Because if you're in that world and you're going to marry a white man, she should have married a white man whose family had the same amount of money as her. But here's the kicker. Would they want that for their son? Even though it's Bob Johnson. You see what I'm saying? There's so many layers to this.
Yeah. And obviously, like when we are talking about that, like being white is just enough, right?
That's right.
And that like the final synopsis of this, like long as you white, it don't matter. You good enough. You know what I'm saying? It surpasses status in comparison to what we can produce and what we make. Obviously, like you mentioned, it can be going out too. The wealth that we created still is getting outsourced to them people. Insane.
That's why we used to have Jack and Jill, and for better or for worse.
Oh yeah,
for better or for worse, the black bourgeoisie. They
the boule.
The boule is for a reason, because they knew that they could never be accepted in white society with their money and wealth. It meant nothing.
Yeah.
They were still black.
It's funny you brought that up, because literally I felt like I went down a mini rabbit hole with that. Maybe about a month or so ago, I went online and I was looking up, Martha's Vineyard.
Oh yeah,
like that's the foundation of it right there. Like up there in Massachusetts on Martha's Vineyard, and basically they got that whole land to themselves. Who was it? What clothing line was it? Tommy Hilfiger? No, Polo. Polo had recently did a campaign about that sometime this year, and I think I did a video about that, and it was basically questioning what was the end goal with that campaign.
Yeah. And I think obviously like Ralph Lauren, he's taken a lot of inspiration from black American designers. It's pretty well documented. It's kind of crazy actually.
Oh, definitely.
But yeah, it's an interesting perspective, man, because people sleep on the fact that like a lot of those Ivy League styles, that's based on HBCUs and what we used to look like. They wasn't on that.
I think like a different world.
Yeah, they wasn't on that Letterman shit. We was on that. We started that whole sportsman look. And then obviously, what we do trends across all, genres, but
I always say we are the trend. I say we are the trendsetters of the world. When we pick it up, everyone else wants to hold it, but when we put it down, everyone's done with it.
Look, man, we watched them talk crazy about the Michael Jackson movie for how long, and it's still doing numbers.
Like, $1 billion.
They're doing a documentary, right?
It hit $1 billion.
Yeah, Netflix is trying to drop.
Well, Netflix did their so-called documentary, and that didn't do what they thought it was going to do. I don't even know why they decided to put that crap out.
I wish they would stop talking about the scandal and the kids, and stop talking about the sexual abuse that you never had proof for. Can we just stop talking about it?
Or you can talk about the real perpetrators of said crime. How about that?
Right, like Epstein. Notice how they stopped talking about Epstein. They're throwing a lot of stuff at the wall, hoping anything sticks, so we can stop talking about Epstein.
I hate to say this, but this is just so true. The Carmelo Anthony case and all these cases were gifts to them to be able to put some distraction away from what's really going on with them Epstein files. He done started a war, and people ain't even talking about the war. That's what's the crazy part. Like, people, you know what I'm saying? Like people be talking about it, but they don't really be talking about it like they should.
Yeah, it used to be a thing when you couldn't go a day without hearing about that straight of her moves.
It's slowly dying out, and guess what's the number one story now? Nolan Wells.
Because
Nolan
they know.
Wells.
I almost feel like white America, like our government has buttons they press. One is fear, one is anxiety, one's racism, one's gas, one's war. Okay, what button are we going to press today? to rile up Americans to get them sidetracked. Like, and then I feel like they just commence, okay, whatever, okay, we're gonna press the race button today. Whatever happened racially in the news that we know is gonna rile people up, let's tell all the news outlets to pump that as much as possible, run that clip as much as possible. You see what I'm saying? Like, I feel like they orchestrate these things to organize our energy and have it go a certain way. You know, it's like mind control in a way. That's why I said, when I look at things, I really dissect them from how I view life. You know what I'm saying? And how I feel like we need to be moving, not from how like everybody else feels like we need to say about this. Because that, I feel like that's what they want, kind of. They want, again, it's just like, it's a distraction tool. They think that we're gonna chase every story with Black folks dying. Like, and they're like, and then at the end, we're like a dog. We're like tired out. We're, you know, we need water now.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, no, we're not gonna do that. Like, some of us are like, yeah, we're done. Don't, no mercy. Like, wait, what happened? No.
Yeah, because
It's sad, but no.
Yeah, it's just a lot of, you know, like I said, like these last couple of weeks where I, you know, took off. Obviously, there's been a lot going on, but I felt like it was necessary to not engage in enough BS after we had already seen so much, right? Especially for creators like us who speak on a lot of things that aren't easy topics to talk about, you know, hard to digest, things that would bother a lot of people. A lot of people are scared of these topics, you know what I'm saying? Because it's real. It's a lot of people's lives that are on the line. Obviously, we watched Carmelo lose a good chunk of his. You feel me? Regardless of us sitting on here talking about it, Carmelo is in a cell right now.
He is, but he's got a good team. He's got a good appeal team.
Yeah, but the goal is the time that he's losing right now, he'll never be able to get back. And that pisses me off. It pisses me off because at the end of the day, he dealing with something that he shouldn't have to. Because if the roles were reversed, I can guarantee you the Metcalf boys would be chilling right now.
Of course.
They'll be getting.
I'll take you another step further. There probably wouldn't have been a trial.
Deals, okay? Live streamers will be having them on for interviews.
Book deals.
Come on, they'll be putting them on MMA fights, bro.
They probably would give them a show.
Straight up. I'm not lying to you, man. The MMA community would get behind them.
I mean, think about look at what they did with Kyle Rittenhouse.
Straight up.
Oh yeah, you're a hero. You're a hero when you kill Black people.
MMA gym around real fighters, okay? And one of the Black fighters pressed him like, "Why y'all bring this motherfucker in here? Like, what is we doing?" And then they had to get him out of there because he got scared. He should be scared. You should be uncomfortable coming around Black folks and they trying to parade you around like you some hero, like you did something. But then you around real fighters and you ain't got no pistol. Now you scary, bro. Get out of here, man.
And
another person with bad posture.
Facts. Facts. Just scary,
on the posture thing. But you know what? How many white people do you see comfortable being with a whole bunch of Black people? How many times do you see on your social media, on TV, where there's one white person with a whole bunch of Black people?
Nah, let's keep it extra buck. They only comfortable around Black women and Black children.
That's a fact.
They are terrified when Black men are in the equation.
Oh, most definitely. Like, I don't know if y'all saw that guy that be going around asking random people about what's going on with Black people. Like, he be bringing up them fake stats, and when he be asking white women who do they think is better in bed, white men or Black men? That's a weird question to ask any woman. Like that's just crazy, but that just shows you how, you know, the mindset he is. But the reason I brought him up is because when he was in Miami doing that, a Black man pressed him. This dude looked like he was about to piss and shit himself at the same time.
Listen, bro.
And that man met him with some ancestral energy.
Yeah, they obsessed, bro. That's what it is.
No, but they're obsessed. They're obsessed with the
it's an obsession. Like when you break down racism and white supremacy, obsession and fear are two main components of it, and there's several more. But
That's
those
right,
two
Miss
right there
Rosie.
those two are definitely in the top.
And power.
Empower is another one.
Yeah,
Control is another one too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like if
Control's
you've
another
ever,
one.
obviously, I hold Dr. Francis Cress Welding with a lot of like, lore over here. And if you've read the ISIS papers, it talks about
Oh, I have it. Listen,
and
I
you know
call
what
the
I'm
ISIS
saying?
papers the Black Bible for a
Yeah,
reason.
it's like and obviously we all have our personal
I need
conversations,
that.
which I love, you know what I mean, that we have over here. But like Rosie said, yeah, Soft Tarkus is right because there is an ancestral, right? And that's what Dr. Francis talks about in the book, is it is an ancestral inferiority complex that they deal with when it comes to black men and black genitalia. Okay,
No,
I
they're
know it
obsessed.
sounds
Yeah,
weird.
she talked about the gun and the phallus.
Yes, she talks about it, and the fact of the matter is that's a big component, and that's why that dude be going around there asking other women about black genitalia, because he probably partakes in watching porn that
Yep.
has men who have black genitalia with other women of other persuasions, because that is the most consumed corn that is on the market. It is a fact. Okay.
Yeah, that's
And
so
so, right. And so when they are over there watching, right, from a CUCK's perspective, all right, we already saw how Adam 22 gets down.
Oh
Right?
yeah.
Okay. So, and he's one of the biggest perpetrators of
That
using and abusing black men and black bodies. All
I
right.
bet that went on. I bet that went on the plantation.
What?
Yeah.
You can't tell me that didn't happen.
I actually had a guy tell me this before. He told me that he moved to Los Angeles. He's from another country. I'm not going to say the country because I don't, but like he was from another country, not an African country, not a European country, but in the middle. But he moved to California, and he said his girlfriend left him for a black dude, and she was cheating on him with this black dude, but then she wanted, I guess, to stay with him. I don't know, it was weird. And then he said he started watching them have sex. And then I was like, okay, why are you telling me this first off? Because I feel like you're debasing me by even telling me this. Like, first, why are you dumping on me? Right? It's like disgusting. But second, because that's what people will do too. But anyways, so and then he was like, they're all bigger than me. And I'm like, so how is this serving your life? Like, what's the purpose of this? I was like, you should stop. And then he said he started watching like that kind of porn. And I can't believe he was telling me this. And I told him, listen, you need to stop obsessing with this. You need to let it go. You need to find God, because you're going to end up being racist and hating black men. That's what's going to happen to you, because you just keep believing that you can't compare yourself to a black man. You're not black. So it's like, that's like me comparing myself to a white woman. Why? I'm not white. I never want to be white. I don't want to be white. Like, there's no point in you comparing yourself to a man you'll never be. So just let it go. Like, and she's for
and honestly,
but you're making it personal. It's not. Yeah.
But I just wanted to add this as well to that, is the fact that that part was trying to be played into the Nolan story, right? When they're saying, oh, nah, he left us for a girl. We left him because he was talking to some girl. That is coded language, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm just being real. It's coded
and maybe
language.
That's a girl that another white dude wants.
Facts. It's always
it is,
right? Because let's say that did happen, right? Let's say that Nolan, who obviously is a handsome young brother, right? Athletic, tall, right? Let's say he did get some love from, some of them women that they personally, right, would like. And the jealousy aspects, we just spoke about that. That's a part of this underlining story that's kind of like I mentioned, it needs to be brought to the table, because that part they're trying to play into that, where it's like, oh no, he just stayed back with some chick. But it's like, I don't like the optics of that, y'all, because you're trying to make it seem like, and we know the history of y'all with black men and y'all women. Okay,
if you want a perfect example, look no further than the king of incels himself, Elliot Rodgers.
Come on now,
that dude right there. It's a reason I called him the king. You never heard of Elliot Rodgers?
No, I'm looking him up right now. Rogers.
Now, there's a reason why I called him the king of the incels, because this dude literally thought he was
He's from the
top shelf
UK.
shit. And
Mass
he,
murderer. Oh,
um, yeah, I think he's from California. His dad, I think, was a movie producer or something like that. So he used to flex that a lot to try to make it seem like basically he thought that he could get any woman that he wanted. You can look at him and tell that this dude was unhinged. But he thought he could get any woman that he wanted, and when he did not get what he wanted, he went on a massive shooting spree, I think near or around a college campus, near a fraternity house or a sorority house. And it was a big story when it happened many years ago. It was a huge story. Like, it was everywhere.
dude, I mean, listen, I feel like a lot of their insecure, instead of like focusing on what they actually possess that is benefiting them or good for them, they just focus on their insecurities. And that's the biggest problem with these
Mhm.
people. We don't operate like that in the Black community. Black men don't operate like that. Black women don't operate like this. Like, it's just, they're so insecure. And a lot of the times we're dealing with their fragility, which is their insecurities, and also them wanting to, not be reminded of history, wanting to act like history isn't real, wanting to erase it.
Mm.
It's just, it's too much. That's what I'm saying. If you're hanging out with a whole bunch of white people, you have to deny reality, man.
You really
You're
do.
not living in a real life. Like, as racial as I am, and I said this on my channel, like, all the white friends I've ever had, which have always been one-on-one type of relationships, like, this is my friend Tiffany, or this is fake names, but I'm not going to give real names, but this is my friend Claire, or whatever. Like, it's always been me and that person. No, because, but like, I've always been me. I'm a racial person. I talk race. Like, this
You
is
don't do
what
the
I
code.
do.
You don't code switch.
I don't code switch with nobody. So if I'm at the table and y'all say something crazy, I'm going to say, well, why did you say that? Well, you understand that sounds racist. Like, well, would you say that about it? I'm that person. I'm going to make you uncomfortable, which is why I don't have a groups of white friends. And I feel like I'm not going to go as far as Umar to say you can never have white friends. Like I said on my channel, I believe that you have to be one-on-one with white people. That's the best you're going to get from them, is one-on-one. You understand? When they can be themselves with you and you can be yourselves with them. Once white people get around other white people, it's over. They get on code. It's just who they are. It's a biological thing. Once they're not like us. We are individual people. We think individually. Me, you, like all three of us right now, we don't all agree on everything, but we're
Yeah.
still here. We don't have to agree on everything. That's the difference. When it comes to them, if I were on here and I'm white and we're all white, somebody would be changing. They would be like, oh, well, I can't disagree. I can't disagree with Brandon or Torian because we're all white. And they have this follow the leader thing really strongly with them, which is why once you get with more than one white person, they get into groupthink. They get into code. They get into the white bubble, right? And so that's why I'm saying, to me, you got to do one-on-one with them. And then you got to be honest. You got to talk race. Like, you have to have real expression of thought with these people. Like, you can't hold back, and then you'll know if they're really your friend. And if they respond and they're open and they're honest about racism and they're honest about white people and their families, then it's all good. But don't go somewhere with them and other white people, because then you might see another white person, because it's biological. They might show you a whole nother side now. I mean, you're teetering at that point. You see what I'm saying?
That part. Yeah, and I think obviously, we live in a society now where, everything is 24/7. We're all like kind of out here, right? But when we're speaking on these type of interpersonal dynamics where you have like a predominantly white town, white state, and you have young Black men who are, apex specimens, right? A athlete who's obviously good looking, comes from a strong family, he's a good student. He's going to be a target. He's going to stand out. And I do feel like you, when you speak on this unspoken, is the fact that like parents in general have to be more specific and especially more strategic when it comes to placing your children in these spaces, man. Because if you feel like your son has a future, he can go anywhere and do that. You know what I'm saying? It don't got to just be in a predominantly white place. Okay, if you got the talent will be found, y'all. Like you guys don't got to do this to try to have a advantage. We're going to a place where it's like your son can be able to stand out more. It's like, no, like put
We've
him
got to
on
start
the
making our spaces better, great again. We got to
go.
start making our communities great again.
And notice too that if you look at the cases where situations like what happened with Nolan Wells happens, they are typically the black person, whether it's a boy, girl, woman, or man,
Mm-hmm.
they are considered well off or well to do or middle class. They're in a certain, I guess you can say, tax bracket. But if you notice, the one that they trying to get away from, the quote unquote low born or those who are in the hood, they don't get caught up in this type of they don't get caught up in this type of stuff. Makes you think. It's funny that they do all the stuff to try to keep them away from, the people that they say that they have black fatigue from, but it's the ones who have the ones who are in the category of black fatigue, as they put it, who are not getting unalived by their white social group.
Right. And that's the thing that I've heard some people say this stupid argument like black people are safer in all white spaces and they're safer in all black spaces. I was like, excuse me, tell me what is safety, because if a black person unalives me, they're going to prison.
Right.
They're gonna get found out, and to me, that's safety. Like I said, 100% of the law is on my side when I'm out with black girls, versus if I'm out with white girls, I got 30% of the law on my side now. My law has been diminished. My rights have been diminished 70% now because I'm riding with white girls that they have more power over me because of white privilege, because of white supremacy, not because they really are more powerful than me. It's because the system has allowed it to be so.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, like, how are we quantifying safety? Like, please, because let's not, like, you should know how to choose friends regardless if they're black or white. But at least if I'm with black people, I know that, like, they're going to be held to the full extent of the law if something happens to me. And a lot of black people, we know discernment with other black people. We're family. We could tell, oh, you ain't right. I'm not put you no more.
Or if I know
Tony.
this area is crazy, I'm gonna stay away from that area.
Right.
Like we know it's gonna be some drama, we gonna stay out of that space.
Exactly.
You know? Good. Like I'm gonna just be over here. But like you said, like with these people and how they're raising their children, they're allowing them to think that they have a false sense of security. So these kids go out here thinking it's gonna be all good, right? Not understanding that it ain't just about who you're with. There could be people who you do not know in this space that you're going to. Are they going to be there to stand up for you if it goes down? Will they have your back, right? Will they not abandon you if you guys get into a dispute? All those things have to be considered, man.
And you are like prey to them the minute, and they can smell it on you.
That's what I said. That's exactly what I said.
No, that's not my homie.
But yeah, that's what I said.
Green light, you know.
Tori and Brandon, did you see the black kid who was I don't know why, again, I do not understand this, but he went out with I don't get it. He went out with all these white kids in some lake, and I don't understand why you're on a lake with white people.
Oh, I know what you about to talk about. Go ahead.
Talk about that. No. I'm saying, like, did you see that and how the white family saved him? But I think a lot of black people, this is where we get it wrong. We'll see a video like that and we'll say, oh, bad white people, but look, good white people. No. Those white people chose to have grace that day. They didn't have to. Those white people chose to care. They didn't have to. It's never guaranteed that they will do the right thing. With black people, it's almost 99% guaranteed we will do the right thing. I can confidently say that. We know how we are. 99% of the time, whether anybody, no matter who they are, we're probably going to do the right thing. This is the God's chosen. This is who we are. But when it comes to them, no. Like, they just happened to do the right thing, and it was good, but that's not guaranteed. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah. And also too, notice that was not an American white family. That was a foreign white family.
Oh, they were foreign?
Yeah, because they had an accent. I don't know if you heard them talking. They had an accent.
I didn't hear an accent.
Yeah, they had an accent.
That's
Mhm.
why the boys were looking weird then. Because I felt like the
Oh
boys, I
my
felt like
god.
I felt like the boys' energy was kind of strange. Like it seemed like I don't know if they were uncomfortable, the boys sitting in the middle
Okay.
of the, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah,
it
because
was
I
like
heard
a,
when I heard the mother talk, I definitely heard an accent.
oh yeah. So see, they have no skin in the game. They're not a part of this white supremacist America.
Mhm.
So it's all fair. They see something wrong, they're probably gonna go help. That makes
You know what
sense.
they gonna do?
Yeah, that
You
makes
know.
sense. I didn't hear an accent. Wow, but that does the boys, the sons, the sons in the middle. Their energy did seem a little weird. So maybe they were confused as to what was happening. That's why they look like that in the camera. I don't even know why. I thought it was fake at first because I was like, why are they filming? But that makes sense if they were foreign. They were filming. They're in America. I was like, why are they filming this? I thought it was staged at
And it
first.
also makes you wonder too, like what would have happened if they weren't there?
He would have died.
Oh, for
Mm,
sure.
He
that
would have
part.
died. And the fun and the crazy thing is the taunting again, but again, I go back to the hard ass take that the stance that I'm taking, the hard ass stance I'm taking. Why the hell would you take your black ass out there with white boys and you know you can't swim? Well, why are you out there in the first place? But definitely why are you out there? You know you can't swim. See, this is this is when this is the 2026 gaslight lie that we've sold black children, that we're
Mhm.
all the same, that we're all free. Again, that's like certain parts of LA or California and New York and Miami. That's not America. That's pockets of America. Those
Mhm.
Gap
Hmm.
commercials, those Old Navy
And
commercials, that's pockets of America. That's not
and
America.
and also notice too, ever since the Nolan Well situation happened, you got some white people coming out here now mad at black people telling their black kids not to hang around white people. They some of them are getting so upset by that. I said, see, your guilt is showing right now. Now you letting it slip. Like you saying, why can't y'all let
Right.
them? Why can't you? Why are you telling your black kids not to hang out with white people? Off the heels of what just happened.
I
Do
just
you?
think
I'm
it's
like, do you?
rude.
I'm like, do you hate?
It's rude.
This is right up there with how Asians started to come at black people when we decided to not patronize their businesses after that Rick Child verdict. I'm like, y'all letting your slip show.
Mhm.
Well,
And it's
they don't like that their identity is keeps their cover keeps being blown. Like, you know, it's like their identity's crumbling and they see it in real time on TikTok and on Instagram, and they see how everything we've always said is true and it just keeps showing its ugly face and they hate it. They're so embarrassed. So either they're going to come on and make TikToks supporting, you know, us, or they're going to come on and go against us. Either way, they're just like, they're freaking out because it's so real. And everybody knows it's real. And again, I wouldn't say you can't hang out with white people. I would say on a one-on-one basis. And I would say don't go some places privately with white people, with a group of white people. It's just the context matters. You know, we all know a white person, right? We work with white
Yeah,
people most of the time. We're gonna be around white people, but it's like when it comes to your friend group, you need to really be with the rider. And that's why I said I don't 100% agree with Umar, because say you grew up with a white kid, he grew up in an all black community. Well, basically, in his mind, he probably thinks he's black. He has humanized black people in his mind because his whole life was black. His school was black. His neighborhood is black. That's a whole different white person from white people that don't grow up with black people at all. You can't even compare those white people. So again, it's all about context, you know?
exactly.
But those people are far and few between. Those white people are rare.
well, I think, at this point it's very
Torian,
obvious.
what's your take? What's your take, Torian? Do you think that black people should stop hanging out with white people entirely? What's your take, Torian? What do you have white friends, Torian?
Not no. I'm gonna be honest. I don't.
Easy answer.
So
I mean, I mean, hey, like I'm saying, hey, hey, listen. I went to an HBCU, so you know that was
oh,
I was around black people from various regions, whether here or abroad. For the most part, there was a sprinkle of white people there, but the thing is, the white people that were there, they were foreign too. So, um,
yeah.
so yeah, I don't. I can honestly say I don't have, at least not that I know of. I don't have any white friends.
Yeah. I would say the white people that you can trust are the white people that have abandoned whiteness completely.
I'll
So
put it.
for
I'll give you. I'll raise you one. Those with the John Brown mentality.
Oh.
Yeah.
And you know it ain't too many of them. I
Right.
said that one is almost extinct.
No.
If it's even any still around, that's the thing.
Yeah.
No, it's true. It's almost as if like they have to totally be separate from whiteness, like grow up with all black people, and then their whole life is black, so they don't even deal with white people, even though they're white. And those are like the most trustworthy white folks because they don't got no white friends. They don't even want to be around white people. How about that? They get
Yeah.
uncomfortable when they get into them rooms. Like, ooh, it's weird
Just,
up in
just
here.
like the one, just like I was just telling you about how there was videos floating around where you had white people getting mad at black people for saying that why are you telling your kids not to be around white kids and everything. There were also some videos of white people coming out saying stay away from groups of white kids.
What?
Yeah. Like they said don't be the only black person out there, and basically don't be the speck of pepper in a sea of salt.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
No.
Yeah,
I thought you just said. I thought you just said white people were telling white people to stay away from white kids.
No. They was out there making videos warning black parents if you have a black child, make sure that they have a diverse friend group. Don't make sure they're not the only black kid in a majority white space. There's also videos of that. I don't know if y'all seen them floating around on social media where black people are just being out and about, and they just happen to spot one black person in the white friend group, and they'll go up to the black friend. They'll bypass all the white people and ask the black person, "Are you okay?" Almost like
I've
blink
seen
twice,
that guy.
almost like blink twice if you are okay, just to make
Wait.
like they basically doing a checkup on them because they see what's going on.
I've
They
seen
they
that
be like, I just
guy.
want to make sure I don't see you up on the news.
I've seen that guy on Instagram. Are you talking about the one who goes up to the black men and be like, "Why are you diluting the race?"
No,
Wait,
no,
he
no,
does
not
that
no,
too.
not
Oh,
no,
okay.
not that one. It's another one. It was one I saw today. It was a black girl. She was there, and she was the only the only black person in that group. It was a mixture of white men and women, and she was the only black person period that was there, whether it was man or woman. And the guy had went up there and he said, "Hey, Queen, are you okay?" And you can tell just by him saying that she put a smile on her face because I think she felt good that this black man came and checked up on her, even though she said she was good.
Oh, they were playing chess, right, or checkers, or one of them.
Yeah, I don't know. They was outside. I do know that.
Yeah, they were playing some kind of game. I think that's the same dude who walks up to black men and says, "Why are you diluting the race?" And then he plays this song and freeze frames on their face.
Yeah.
Oh man, but yeah, I think this is a good chat. And like I said, it's like we're not against me personally. I'm not ever going to tell people they cannot have a white friend. I would say on a one-on-one basis, I would say thoroughly vetted. I would say no groups.
Yeah, definitely do
That's
that.
what I would say because I'm realistic. I'm not going to say there's never a good white person that you'll meet or whatever. That's not true. But is it common? No, guys, no. But like, it's not common, but it is. But it can be. But you have to really know yourself. And the truth is that a lot of black folks are not pro-black. They're not rooted like how we are. Like they don't even have conversations that go this long about blackness, like the way we do, the way we go into race. That's not common with a lot of black people. And people have to start making that more common so that they will stop putting themselves in situations like this. Because if Nolan was racially minded, he would have known I can't be on this boat with all these white folks.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, being racially minded is not a burden. It's a freedom. That's what I tell people. It's a freedom. Because when you go places and you traverse the world, you understand I'm black. Okay, how are people perceiving me? Not how I really am. I know I'm the truth, but how are people perceiving me? And it saves us. So yeah, I'm ending it there, guys. Good chat.
All right. Salute to Miss Unspoken. Thank you so much. We appreciate having you on. Thank you. See you later. Yeah. All right, Torian. Any last words, sir?
Nah, this is a good conversation. I do appreciate coming up. Shout out to you when unspoken. And to everyone else that was in the chat. This is definitely a good, much needed conversation. And I'm glad that this story has gone mainstream, and it seems like it's going to stay there for a while, and it should. You know, it's unfortunate though. There were other stories that came before that didn't get that kind of push, but you know, here we are, and it started the conversation up, and that's why I said the live that I'm gonna do today is gonna go more deeper into the other ones that were kind of like here today, gone tomorrow, blinking you'll miss it type of things, but it was like on the same trajectory.
That part. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely be there for sure. I'm gonna pull up, you know what I'm saying? Make sure I'm in the chat and active, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate you, bro. Always pulling up, man, showing love. Y'all make sure to go subscribe to Torian. He has an amazing channel. He drops pretty much every day. So there's always new content for y'all to check out and to consume. All right. So Torian, if you want, leave your channel in the chat for everybody to check you out. Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah.
Peace. All right. So final words from your boy Brandon. All right. So look, obviously this is a very crazy case. A lot of these cases lately have been, you know, like I mentioned, very personal to me. I feel a certain level of connection, you know what I mean, to all these young brothers, because whether it be me seeing myself in them as a youth, or me looking at them like I look at my nephews, or just a simple understanding of being a Black American and knowing, you know, the ins and outs of the things that we go through, right? Friend groups, finding out who's your friends, going through the motions of finding out who isn't your friends, right? These valuable lessons that we all learn as we grow up as men and women, you know? And I wanted to leave you guys with something as well. You know, this is my friend group, right? And as you see, one of my closest friends is white. His name is Nolan, ironically. Nolan's a great person. He's a good dude. As you guys see, so nothing but brothers right here. If he with the brothers, you know that. He's certified. You know what I'm saying? It's a good dude right there. And so it's very important that we all make sure that we understand that we all come from somewhere. And the fact that Nolan had to learn with his life that these friends weren't his friends is very unfortunate, and it's a terrible situation. But thank God for us being Black folks and Black Americans standing on business and not allowing his story to just go unheard. We're going to make sure that we continuously talk about these stories. And like Unspoken mentioned, you know, taking mental breaks. Taking mental breaks is very important. We work in a vacuum where we feel like we got to talk about everything, right? Especially as content creators. But you also have to make sure that self-preservation is real. And the only way that I can get on here and give you guys a conscious perspective, bringing the facts, bringing the research, is by making sure that I'm pouring back into myself just as much as I pour into my channel, and just as much as we pour into each other as supporters, back and forth. You know what I mean? Because this is an exchange, right? I give you guys the content that I feel is important, and you guys give me feedback so that I can get better and continue to do this. And I really do appreciate you guys, because every time I come on here, like I mentioned, y'all, I can have one person in the chat. That makes me satisfied, because anybody who takes time out of their day and out of their life to spend it with me to talk about these topics that I love to speak about, I really, really appreciate it. And that's why you guys should like and subscribe to the channel. All right. If you have not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. If you have not liked the video, please like the video. It helps me stay in the algorithm. You know, I've been off for a couple weeks, so it's probably going to take me a minute to get back in there. But we back. We back. We're going to make sure that we bring in these topics for y'all. I'm going to definitely be back tomorrow to, you know, kick it and cook on some new topics. We probably still, you know, if we got some new developments on what happens with Nolan, we're going to talk about it, you know, but I'm going to be here. So salute to everybody out there. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you hype the video. My name is Brandon B. I'm part of Elite Media, man, and I'm out. Peace.